Please roll, please.
Oh, yeah, honey. I'm getting prepared for this.
To have 8 members present, as you know, is on his way. This time we'll stand for the prayer. We shall lead to the prayer.
Please bow your head. We take this moment to acknowledge Almighty God and thank Him for our bountiful blessings, especially for all of this parish's natural resources. We give thanks to God for our brave and courageous men and women in our military who daily risk their lives to protect our precious freedom. And we pray for our world leaders to know how to obtain world peace, especially in this Korean situation. We pray that this governing body, comprised of both council and administration, will always serve our parish with honesty, humility, and equality to all. And for the wisdom to know right from wrong, and the courage to do that which is right. And as this government gathers here today, we pray that we'll be spared of all harm and destruction this hurricane season, and those with vindictiveness in their hearts are forgiven. Amen.
No, it's not you, it's this.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Brown, which one you want? It's 1B.
Right, I should be on the line.
It's 1B is the proclamation
I have
deferred.
a little manual.
President's report. Are you ready, sir?
Plug headphones in and make sure you're getting audio.
On behalf of Captain Scott, wasn't able to be present here today, so I think the request that be moved to the proclamation be moved to the September, I think 13th date. He'll be available. Would you like me to do one seat?
Yeah. Mr. President, we're back online.
Good afternoon. The report for 10th of August 2017. On August 3rd, met with the Louisiana Shrimp Association meeting, Shrimp and Seafood. That was held at the Belshas Auditorium. I'm proud to say that through the work of the association and also with the help of our congressional delegation, they have passed what's called, I think, SIMS, which is the Seafood Importation Measurement Act. Pardon me if I got the acronym slightly off, but what this will do was it will protect our citizens in the U.S. And in Louisiana, especially our seafood producers, from having to having the risk of ingesting or being having product from Asia that is subpar and not as good as our Louisiana seafood. And it will also have the added benefit of making the dumping, limiting the amount of seafood that Asia can dump into our markets. It's been a recurring problem that our shrimp prices have been lower than usual, and that's been because of the dumping of this seafood from Asia. And of many times it's not doesn't meet our health standards and regulations. So we're proud to hear about that and those measures being implemented, which should help our seafood industry. On August 4th, with the help of Mr. Cooley, our attorney, we met with the representatives from Equiland, and we closed on the acquiring the property that was needed for the one of the water disbursement lines, and also renewed the lease for on behalf of the Plaquemines Parish government of the Boat Harbor Internal District and the Plaquemines Parish Port Harbor Internal District. And so those matters are resolved and taken care of. We all heard about the sad losses in Orleans Parish. Our thoughts and prayers go out to those in Orleans Parish whose homes flooded and businesses flooded. And I would urge the council, we have, I think, on the agenda today, 6O, where we're requesting pump operators. But for the grace of God, we're fortunate that did not happen at Plaquemines, but we need to be vigilant and we need to be prepared. And so I would humbly request the council's support on those measures. We also we conducted the mid-year budget review. I feel that it was a successful enterprise. Some thought-provoking ideas, and also getting a grasp of where we are, where we're headed. One thing that was discussed yesterday with at the pre-council meeting with Councilman Black and Councilman Juneau is that since that we were almost somewhat predicting what was going on, because as we spoke at the mid-year budget review, that oil being a geopolitical commodity, you know, just 2 days later we had the threat of North Korea attacking U.S. territories in Guam, and then that was on the front page. Those threats are grave, and our president has risen to the challenge of those threats. We also, Councilman Black, who works in the industry, also aptly noted and made us aware that OPEC is now cutting exports. And so these are things, that pieces of the puzzle that we did not have on Monday, mid-year budget review, as well as a news article in the paper about issues in Venezuela, which is one of the largest producers of petroleum in South America. And so these things change rapidly, and that could have very easily have a beneficial impact on the price of oil. So it's things that we need to stay abreast of. A little earlier in the week, we had, this is, I guess would fall under the category of update from our congressional delegation, that we I participated in a phone call in which we've been tracking diligently what's going on with the National Flood Insurance Program. As some of you may know, end of September, the National Flood Insurance Program ends, and Congress is debating how to go about, whether one, to renew it, and two, how to go about renewing it. The chairman of that committee, Chairman Henselling, has a bill that's not very favorable, or proposed a bill that's not very favorable to South Louisiana, in that it repeats some of the errors of before, insofar as if we don't have a ceiling on premiums, then very quickly we will be priced out of the insurance market. There is a grandfathering provision in there, but in Section 101, of Hinchland's bill, but Section 104 pretty much guts that grandfathering provision in that it says that if you have made 2 claims on your flood insurance, then you're no longer capable of being grandfathered in. So that's very alarming. In response to that, Congressman Mike Johnson, with whom I did law school, and one of our attorneys, parish attorney Shane Landry, did law school, he has a bill that he co-authored with someone else. It has the total support of the Louisiana congressional delegation, and it will follow the model, more or less, of Bigot Waters. There's no need to repeat the mistake that was done before, and I'm hoping that Congress will adopt the Louisiana delegation's bill. It's something that we definitely need to keep tracking, though, because if the Hinchland bill from Texas prevails, it will be ominous for South Louisiana and all the rest of the Gulf Coast as well. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll yield. Thank you.
Any questions from the table? Any questions from the table? Audience? This time, before we move to the next item, I'd like to recognize our assessor, Honorable Kim Turley-Vaughn. Glad to have you here. I'm sorry, clerk of court, I'm sorry. Y'all think about you in this, break that. Ms. Hines, Justice of the Peace, glad you're here.
Thank you.
And of course, our hard-working administrative assistants on the northern end, and from Fort Salford, and from Boudreaux, Sunrise. Glad y'all here as well. Welcome all y'all who are here. We don't have too many people to talk about us. It's just a family affair today. Oh yeah, oh Brian, where's hello Brian? Good job, Brian.
Hey, Rob.
All right, here we go. Business advertising, do we have any? None. Beer and liquor license, Councilman Black, do you have any?
None.
I have none.
Mr. Michelle? I have none.
None.
Ms. Salvin? Liquor license, do you have any? Mr. Ashton?
No, sir.
Ms. Wade?
Yes, I have 2, sir, especially Ben.
All the way from Boudreaux now.
Yes, sir, all the way from Boothville, Venice. This is for the Bureau Volunteer Fire Department Cruising the Delta fundraiser car show to be held on September the 23rd at 35410 Highway 11 in Kazazu Drive. That's at the Roger House Field by the firehouse. And I also have one for the Boothville Venice Volunteer Fire Department fundraiser for a kayak rodeo to be held at Fort Jackson on October the 20th and the 21st. With that, I offer.
Offered by Councilmember Williams and second by Councilmember Iscombe. Any questions from the table? Audience, machine is open. Passes 8-0. If there is no objections, we'd like to take all of the construction permits in global. Are there any objections from the table? Yeah, well, put those others up. We take all the permits, other fulfilled permits as well. Any questions to that? Objections? Let's do them all.
4A1, Texas Petroleum Investment Company, application number 2017-411 dated June 2nd, 2017. Prop Wash drill the South 8 proposed prospect well, install well protector platform, 3-inch flow line and 2-inch gas lift line, South Pass Block 24 Field, Councilmember Williams. 4B, Paul Barrios, Third Trail Residence, 12484 Highway.
Mr. Bird.
I'd like to take that one up separately. I'd like to offer that one for discussion only briefly, so, and I think this may, yes.
Which one do it?
This is the one for construction, I'll
All right. Offered by Ms. Williams, second by, I'll second it. For discussion by Councilmember Burke.
No, he's gonna do the next.
All right. Any comments from the table? Audience, the machine is open. On item 6. Everyone. 6 yeas and 1 abstention. Now,
4B, Paul Barrios, Third Trailer Residence, 12484 Highway 23, Belle Chase, Louisiana. Councilmember Byrd.
I will offer for discussion only this time, please.
I'll second.
it has been offered, the second for discussion on.
Yeah,
Councilmember Byrd.
what this is a variance for a third trailer on a piece of A2 property. And looking through the zoning book, well, first of all, there's nowhere in that zoning book that identifies a third or fourth residence in this particular zoning. So I'm going to ask this be deferred today, and so I have to get some time with Mr. Metcalf and Ms. Mitra to go through this. But I just want to make the council aware that that in the zoning book there's not a statement in it that says you can add a third or fourth residence with a variance of the council. So I'm going to defer this today and bring it back up to the next council.
Before you defer, Ms. Burke, could you give us the geographic location?
Yes, this is, let's see, it's south of the flood wall. It's right next to Riverbend Estates in Jesuit Bend. It's a piece of A2 property that's been there for many, many years. Like I said, it's zoned A2. They're trying to put a third residence, and what prompted this, I did get some letters of opposition from the neighboring subdivision. In my due diligence in looking into this, I could not find anything that would allow a third trailer as a variance. So until I get some more clarification from permits and zoning, I'm going to ask it to be deferred till further notice.
Item B has been deferred. Would you read C, please?
4C, Danita Prout and Brad Williams, Fourth Trailer Residence, 24885 Diamond Road, Diamond, Louisiana. Councilmember Trufant Salvan.
Solid.
Is it good to go, Mr. Metcalf?
No letters of opposition, ready for your consideration.
Okay, I'll offer then.
Offer. Second by Mr. H. Cone. Any questions from the table? Audience, machine is open.
Mr. Burke?
Passes 7-0.
Mr. Chair, let's defer D.
D is deferred. Would you read D, please?
The Clubhouse Bar and Grill, Debbie Keeper, Fireworks Stand Renewal, 8133 Highway 23, Belle Chase, Louisiana. Councilmember Black.
Councilmember Black offers, there's second. Second by Councilmember Lapine and Benny. So, any questions from the table? Audience, machine is open. Passes 8-0. At this time, I'll take all referrals and withdrawals. At this time, anybody have, Councilmember Black?
Yes, sir. I will withdraw C.
C is withdrawn.
Yes, 6C withdrawn. 6D is withdrawn. 6E is withdrawn. 6F is withdrawn. 6H is deferred. 6I is deferred. And that is it.
Please state that 6C is withdrawn, 6D is withdrawn, 6E is withdrawn, 6F is withdrawn, H is deferred, and I is deferred.
Yes,
Is that
sir.
correct?
Yes.
Councilman, Mr. Rousseau? None. I have none. Black, Mr. Burke?
Yes, I'm going to defer 6D,
6D?
6T, and I'm also going to defer 7J, and I apologize in advance to Ms. Hines. She came because of the justice of the peace item on here. I failed to get the notification out to them in a timely fashion. So Ms. Hines, I apologize again, and we will take this up at the next meeting. And thank you for coming today.
Councilman Burke, you have 6B is deferred. 6T is deferred. And 7J is deferred. Is that correct, sir? So Councilman Burke, that's correct. Ms. Sullivan?
I have one, sir.
Councilman Mayfield?
Yes, sir, defer KK and LL. LL? Yes, sir.
KK and LL is deferred. Council President, Ms. Williams? Nothing. Okay, I'll repeat one more time. Section B is deferred. C is withdrawn. D is withdrawn. E is withdrawn. F is withdrawn. H is deferred. I is deferred. T is deferred. K is deferred. L is deferred. And 7J is deferred. A1 is deferred. With that said, we'll move 6A2. We're moving to 6A2. 6A1 is deferred.
6A2, an ordinance by the Plaquemines Parish Council as and on behalf of the West Bank Levy District to appropriate new perpetual flood protection levee flood wall easements, new perpetual flood protection levee flood wall and drainage ditch easements, new perpetual drainage ditch easements, and new temporary work area easements in certain portions of lands in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, to construct the New Orleans to Venice NOV-NF-W-06A.2. Point Celeste to West Point Lahash, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, for levee, flood wall, drainage, flood access, and hurricane protection purposes, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Offer, is there a second?
I would like to offer the changes, and each
Okay.
council member should have
Fine.
the changes in front of them.
Would you, you have a change? Would you make note of the changes, please? God bless you.
On line
You didn't
2,
let's call me, I'll bless.
on line 2, we're moving the word appropriate and replacing it with acquire. On line 6, we're adding, after Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, we're adding by donation, purchase, appropriation, and/or expropriation. On line 28, we're adding the word certain, after whereas, will be whereas certain lands. That's on page 1. On page 2, line number 4, we're removing the words flood protection levee flood wall and. On line 26, we're adding the words and expropriate. On line 40, we're removing the word appropriate and adding the words acquire by donation, purchase, appropriation, and/or expropriation. On line 45, we're removing After 3.87 acres, we're removing the word new and the word and. We're adding some parentheses around including 0.17 acres new existing. Under section 1, line 55, we're removing the word appropriation. And on 56, we're adding by donation, purchase, appropriation, and/or expropriation. On line 60, after 3.87 acres, we're removing the words new and then we're adding parentheses around including 0.17 acres new existing. On page 3, line number 9, we're removing, in 10, we're removing the words perpetual drainage ditch easements consisting of 54.24 acres. On line 10, we're removing the word new. And we're adding section 3, which reads, as and on behalf of the West Bank Levy District, it does hereby authorize the acquisition of new perpetual drainage ditch easements consisting of 54.24 acres by donation, purchase, and/or expropriation pursuant to the Constitution and laws of the state of Louisiana to construct the NOV-NF-W-06A.2 project for levee flood wall drainage, flood, and hurricane protection purposes is identified in the NOV-NF-W-06A.2 right-of-way drawings attached as Exhibit A. And then the only other changes is we're changing the numbers on the following sections. Section 3 to be number 4, section number 4 to be number 5, section number 5 to be number 6, section number 6 to be number 7, and section 7 to be number 8. And those conclude the changes.
Ms. Sullivan has offered with the changes. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Williams. Ms. Sullivan?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, actually, this is continuing of our levee project on the west bank of the river. And we're basically to address the easements to the NOV levee district, folder 688.2, which encompasses Point Celeste to West Front Lahash. And with that, I have Mr. Cooley, Mr. Burgess, and Ms. Nicole with the Corps to come up and do a presentation and address the council of what we are about to do here.
L.B. Cooley, attorney for Michael's Parish Government. The reasons for the changes are similar to the changes that were made in 0582 that was addressed at the last meeting, and essentially they relate to the fact that there are canal easements that we need to acquire that are not part of the levee footprint. So as a consequence, we have to expropriate those. And the council is interested in asking for donations. And to the extent that we can, we're going to get those. And for purchases, amicable purchases, and if that doesn't happen, then we expropriate. So we're in the process now of proceeding with surveys, and then we'll have appraisals that will give us the numbers affected by all these properties. There are essentially 185 total acres to be acquired, and easement rights. Woodland, through some swap rights affecting its borrow bids, has already given the parish, or the levee district in this case, I think 98 acres. We have talked to several of the ditch owners of canal rights that we need to acquire. Several have said they are not going to donate. We are talking to one now that is exploring and looking at the maps that they just got to determine whether they want to proceed and donate. So that kind of concludes that. Steve Burgess here with GCR has a PowerPoint presentation, and then if there are questions of him with respect to details on land rights and other matters about this project, Nicole Harris, the Corps project manager on all these levee projects on East Bank is here. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Steve Burgess with GCR Incorporated. What you have on the screen right now, and also in the packet that you have, are the boundary areas of the canal and levee acquisition, as well as the temporary access easements that are going to be needed for this project. This project, as you can see on the screen, starts at Point Celeste Road, and the back levee that is currently the levee and canal area is going to be expanded, and the back canal, the drainage canal, is going to be filled in as part of the expansion and increased capacity of the new levee. In exchange of that, there is going to be a new canal that's going to run parallel toward the highway, about 1,000 or so feet, and is going to drain that lower section into the Point Celeste pump station. If you could go to the next screen, please. This is, again, part of the back levee in green. The orange area that you see there is a combination of a levee servitude and a drainage servitude. This area is a combination because there's going to be a drainage structure that is going to run through the levee in order to assist in draining part of the WTIX tower location, as well as a portion of private land that is going to be cut off and is going to be isolated from the levee when the levee is constructed. If you could go to the next screen, please. At the lower end of this is the Woodland Borrow Pit property. LB just mentioned that Woodland Borrow Pits, through an agreement with Plaquemines Parish Government 2015, did agree to 98 acres of this project of the 194 acres being granted to the parish. So we were successful in getting a grant of those servitudes, and as Mr. Cooley mentioned, we're working with other landowners to try to acquire or get a donation from them for their properties. There are a total of 25 landowners that are impacted here. Those landowners also include Plaquemines Parish Government, which you will be bringing your LERS or the lands to the table in this particular case. What's not shown here is across the highway from the parish maintenance facility is a temporary work area easement. It's where the contractor will be using it as a storage location and trailer site. At the lower end of the project is where we start getting into, as you can see, a number of landowners. They're very small tracts of land. You may recall about a year and a half ago that some of these landowners in this area came before the council in concerns about the alignment. It was at that time that the alignment was revisited by the Corps of Engineers, and it was actually moved in order to accommodate their concerns. And with that, I'll open the floor with any questions you might have for me or Ms. Nicole.
Any questions from the table? Anybody?
Question, is this
Yes.
all earthen levee, or are there any flood walls?
There's no flood wall in this. It's all earthen levee or excavated canal. That'll be part of this. The gap that you see on this particular screen, just below Jefferson Lake Canal, which is behind the parish maintenance facility, is another project that actually is a flood wall. This is where the siphons will be coming through from the Mississippi River, and that is a separate project that was previously appropriated.
And where the Jefferson Lake Canal property that the parish owns is currently located, it's going to be absorbed by this project, which means that there will be no public access to the Jefferson Lake Canal any longer?
That is correct, yes, sir.
So we were cutting off that canal to anybody who used to use it?
That is correct. The northern, or not the northern, the eastern end of the canal, which is currently, there's a boat launch there, that is all going to be impacted. The levee is going to cross through Jefferson Lake Canal in that location. The area between that levee and the highway is going to be filled in, and so there will be no longer access to Jefferson Lake Canal at that location unless there's an agreement with other landowners adjacent to it to put in another boat launch.
In the project, is there an agreement with any landowners to put a ramp to access the Jefferson Lake Canal through private property?
There is a ramp that is going to cross in very similar area where there's a location, the Peabosh's own a camp right beyond the the parish's own property. There is going to be a ramp that's going to be located there, so there would be continued access to that landowner, and of course, it is the parish's right to cross there as well for maintenance purposes. So again, if the parish can enter into an agreement with that landowner, they may be able to put another boat launch right in that area for access to Jefferson Lake Canal.
And the reason I bring this up is because for years we've had local fishermen that have been launching there and staying there for many, many years. And there's always been a dispute between the landowner crossing through that canal and those fishermen. And now what this project does is definitely put them on the outside to where they no longer will be able to access the public, the canal, which is claimed to be private. And early in this project, I was having some concern about that and expressed it, but obviously the project is on its way. And
well, just to clarify, Mr. Roussel, our initial research indicates that Jefferson Lake Canal was expropriated by the parish government several years ago. So or the parish actually owns Jefferson Lake Canal all the way down to the outlet, including that portion near the highway, which unfortunately is going to be filled in as part of this levee project.
But what this project does is it puts it off limits to us allowing the public to access it unless they go through the private landowner.
That is correct.
Ramp that you're going to build, or this project is going to build.
That is correct. That is correct. Yes.
So that's a concern that I've expressed for quite some time, and
And never considered to build it on the parish property, the ramp over the levee.
Well, the ramp is going to start over the parish property, and it is a ramp that's going to cross the levee for the landowner beyond the parish property to continue to access their camp and their property. That's over.
So you build it on parish property, I mean the parish and people can go over and bring their boat back to this side and park on parish property.
They could, but they're not going to have a boat launch on the
I'm talking about the boat, I'm just talking about back down.
That is correct. They could potentially park their boat or trailers on the other side of the levee that you're talking about. That area is going to be graded and filled in as part of this project. Some of it, of course, is going to be levee footprint, but there will be a portion of it that will not be and could potentially be used if there's an agreement with the landowner to create a boat launch for public purposes.
So in the acquisition that you're asking us to approve now, is an effort going to be made to allow that language to be in the documents to, I mean, the way I see it, it's a one-way street right now. The public's going to own this part, but they can't get to the public canal because we got to go through private property. But the private property owner can get through to his property because he's using the public access and the ramp that the Corps is building. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
So my question is that there's some type of way to get in the agreement that will allow public access across that private piece that we're going to be building as a ramp and filling in, as you said, almost a parking lot.
There is no language in the current agreement, current ordinance in front of you to accommodate that. No, sir.
I see you rise, Mr. LV. Could you elaborate on this? Since you're probably involved in
The
this?
Jefferson Canal property.
Could you come to the mic, please?
Yeah, the Jefferson Canal property that was expropriated is PPP property. It's not public property. It belongs to the parish. So if the parish wants to work out some agreement with people who want to access that canal, that's a decision to be made by Clackamas Parish government. The fact that we expropriated that canal doesn't mean that canal is a public body of water for use by everyone.
However,
I understand.
you understand my situation that I'm trying to explain that, the government owns it.
Yes.
But no one can use it except the private property owner that we're putting a ramp in for.
Or, I mean, there could be some agreement not to allow them to do that. I mean, that's up to the parish. I mean,
Well, this is why I bring this up. Now is the time to be addressing this if you're going to be getting documents to acquire these right-of-ways. And those documents should reflect what we intended.
Not necessarily. We will be getting documents to the extent that we are able to acquire amicably certain rights, and we're appropriating today rights except for what I call the ditch easements. That's already a done deal if this council decides to approve this ordinance. So there will be no special language in the.
I understand your position, there'll be no special language, but this brings back to memory when the port came in and subdivided, or the parish came in and subdivided all of this port property. We had the opportunity to gain this canal right away, that 150-foot strip across the back of the property at no cost to the government because we could have made it part of the subdivision or not do the subdivision. And we sat here and we did not address it. And I understand the piecemeal addressing of this issue. I happen to look a little further down the line to see when the fishermen will be in this podium coming and say, why we can't get to the Jefferson Lake Canal? The government owns it. And we'll say, well, we built the ramp, we built the parking lot, but you got to go through the private property owner to get to the public canal if we make it public, or the government canal. So I know it's a little extra work and a little extra brain power to go in that direction, but that's the only reason I'm bringing it up now, because I can see what might happen in the future because of what we did with the drainage canal across the port property that now we've got to go by.
You have a point. Point's well taken, but the fact is that we're appropriating certain rights today. If this is approved.
Well, it's approved. What if we say we want you to go back to the table?
Then it's not approved.
Okay. So my point is, why can't we try to work something out before we approve it? Or have a commitment from that side of the table to try to work it out?
That's up to the council.
This is the thing. If the government wants to get to its canal, it's got to cross private property to get to the canal. Right now, when we cross the ferry, we got to cross private property to get to the ferry, and we pay every year to use our ferry. Just like our water line. We pay every year to get the water out the river to cross over some private property. Our port authority pays every year to park the port vessels there. This is the same example that I'm trying to highlight to make some sense of what we're going to do.
I understand what you're saying.
I hope everybody understands it, but what are we going to do about it?
Right.
So what's your recommendation, Mr. Cooley?
My recommendation is that the council proceed and take action on this to approve it, or if it wants to defer, to see if we can change it.
Excuse me, Mr. Cooley, we are not the one that should be burdened on this. I think Bert did make a very valid request. You're representing the government on that side of the table.
That's correct.
So I think what he is asking is a recommendation from you or something that you would like to implement and include within the legislation so that would protect us from perhaps being charged, the residents taking charge, a fee being placed on them to access government rights that we have to, if we're indicating that we don't have a problem with them utilizing that area.
This is the first time that this concern has been addressed in this fashion, so I have not.
Well, let me just address that. It was addressed in meetings that I had when former Cormier, deceased Cormier, was in meetings with the Corps of Engineers. I addressed this in many meetings 2.5 years ago and expressed my concern of exactly what I'm saying now, except for the fact the canal issue came and brought it home to me. When we did require the right-of-way for the subdivision for the port development.
Nobody expressed that concern to me. I was not present in those meetings, so this is the first time that I'm hearing the concerns that you have.
But the request is being made today, Mr. Cooley.
I'm hearing that.
So
I understand that.
how do we remedy this problem as of today? Because I know your request is for us to pass this legislation. And in light of what Mr. Russo just brought there, there's no way that I think I could get the support to move forward.
Then the recommendation would be to defer it until we can figure out how to work out the concerns and to address those concerns.
Okay, Ms. Harris, do you concur with that? All right, Steve?
I'd just like to say that what I will do is go back and look at the project features. But what you're seeing in green right now is the footprint of the right-of-way. On the flood side, on the Jefferson Lake Canal side, there may be available land to actually construct some sort of ramp within the parish right-of-way that's going to be acquired for this case. I will go back and take a look at the actual project limits of the footprint of the levee, toe-to-toe, that's going to be constructed, and see if there's anything that can be done in order to have available land to construct some sort of ramp in that area. That, of course, during construction time, that ramp is not going to be accessible, but we can see about working something out with the Corps in order to get something put into place.
Let me say this. I'm not trying to create a boat launch or ramp. I'm just trying to maintain access to the public property without having to cross private property that we may have to wind up paying for in the future. And the examples that I gave you are prime examples of what we do now, which after 60 years of using the ferry ramp, we never paid a nickel. But all of a sudden, we started paying for some reason, when the people that were paying never owned the property prior to that.
Sure. No, I completely understand, and it's a valid point, absolutely. There's an existing, and we're not talking about a big boat launch area there right now. There's two small slips that go down. One is actually owned by a private landowner. Adjacent to it is the one that's owned on parish property that we're talking about replacing now. So if there was a possibility of being able to replace that at the toe of the levee some kind of way within the existing footprint, then I'm going to take a look at that closely. And as Councilman Bartholomew said, possibly using that ramp that's going to be put in place and parking the trailers and boats on the other side where they're parking now. Outside, obviously, off of the levee too.
So, I mean, they still could have access to that.
They would still have, that is correct, yes, sir. I mean, I could envision that you would still have access to the ramp, which is going to be on the flood side of the levee, and then you would just move your vehicle to the protected side of the levee to park. That is correct. But again, that's not a project feature that's currently in the design. That is something we'd have to look at more closely.
But we still have to build a ramp anyway.
You will
do that. We're going to do that regardless.
That is correct. The ramp is going to be there because it's going to be access to the private landowner.
So if we can put it on private property, the ramp on private property, that would eliminate having any kind of fees or anybody else having a problem with private landowner, because that canal belongs to the parish. And that print, once you fill it in and build that levee there, that means we can put the ramp there, right over the canal, the existing canal, which will be land. So
that is correct. Yes, sir.
Have access.
In addition to looking at the project features, we certainly will approach the landowner that we're talking about regarding your concerns, and we'll talk with them as well to see if there's anything. Right now, they have their intention is, since their boat launch that is going to be removed with this project, they're actually going to be constructing or improving a boat launch that goes into the discharge ponds, which are actually on the lower side of that project. They're no longer going to have access to the Jefferson Lake Canal side, is what the conversations have been with the landowner. Their boat launch is going to be within the discharge ponds, which are their property. And then they would access the swamp area from those discharge fingers, I guess you would call it, that come out of the discharge pond.
And those improvements will be paid by who?
Those are going to be paid by the landowner.
So
and likely it'll be paid by funds that would be provided to the landowner from other areas that are going to be acquired on their property.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
Yes, I'm sorry, Ms. Oliver.
I'm going to go ahead and defer, and then
Okay.
we can, have Mr. Curtis look like he's more willing to look into the matter, and we'll address it at a later time.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Comments?
I was just going to say that I will look into and report back to you as quickly as possible what we discovered.
Thank you.
But by no means do you want to hold up the project, but then that's a valid request from the
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Junior, do you have any alcohol permits? Do you have any deferrals? Okay. All right, at this time we'll move to questions.
Yes, I have one. An ordinance to amend the 2017 firefighting fund operating commission budget, firefighting departments, ambulance department, otherwise provide with respect to itself.
2, an ordinance to amend and as amended re-adopt section 17.1-2 of the Plaquemines Parish Code of Ordinances relative to the fees for use of parish government facilities and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to terminate the state of emergency or disaster act declared by the Plaquemines Parish President Amy Cormier in accordance with Louisiana Revised Statute 29-727 and to sign any and all documents that are necessary in connection with that.
You know? Got it? Mr. Rochelle?
A resolution to approve cooperative endeavor agreement, LA Gov. number 20002755568, with the state of Louisiana Department of Natural Resources for the Plaquemines Parish Local Coastal Program implementation, to authorize the execution of said agreement by the parish president, otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes. And none at this time.
I have a couple. An ordinance to amend the Plaquemines Parish Code of Ordinance to include District 1 within the enforcement and jurisdiction of the Health Department for the purpose of abating blighted vehicles. An ordinance to amend the 2017 Waterworks Sewer Fund Manpower Structure Operating Expenditure Budget, Waterworks and Sewer Building Department, and authorizing an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government, otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2017 Public Health Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Health Department, otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2017 Health Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Mosquito Control Department, otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2017 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Legal Service Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Mr. Burke?
I have two. An ordinance to amend the 2017 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Drainage, Stock, Shop Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution authorizing the parish president, Amos J. Cormier III, or his designee, to prepare and advertise for requests for proposals from companies to perform the services of cleaning, sweeping, maintenance, removal, hauling, and disposal of all debris and right-of-way outfall ditches located parish-wide in all districts and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's all.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes, I have two. An ordinance to amend the 2017 operational budget to fund the cost of repair and continued maintenance of the Mississippi River levee near and within the perimeter of the Phillips 66 refinery and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. And an ordinance to amend the 2017 General Fund Manpower Structure and 2017 Operational Expenditure Budget, Telecommunications Department, and to authorize an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I have none, sir.
Ms. Williams?
I have one. An ordinance to fund the cost overrun associated with the Beer Social History Project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Paul, for executive session at this time. We'll move to executive session items.
Number 1, Plaquemines Parish Government versus Seisler Thompson Brown Architects LLC et al. 25th JDC case number 62-547, Division A Attorney Shane Landry, Councilmember Bartholomew. Number 2, Rebecca S.
We're going to defer 2 and 3.
What you want to do?
Defer, Chairman.
Defer what?
2 and 3.
1, 2, and 3?
No, 2 and
All
3.
right. 2 and 3 is deferred.
Number 5,
4 is okay.
Four.
Unless there's something you want on 4. Okay. Read 4, please.
Darrell L. Morrell versus Plaquemines Parish Government, 25th JDC case number 54-210, Division B Attorney Andrew Wilson, Councilmember Edgecombe. And number 5, discussion regarding potential litigation against Smart Cell and Big LLC and King, Crabb, and Jurgens LLC, LRS 42:17A2, Councilmember Lapine.
I offer. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Lapine. Machine is open. It passed. Now, at this time, we'll move to executive session at 2:02. We're in recess. Call the council meeting back to order at 2:45. Let us state there was no action taken in executive session. And we'll now move to next item. Yes.
6G, an ordinance to amend the 2017 general fund operating expenditure budget, coastal zone land department, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Yes, this is an ordinance that's been pending for some time, but at
Excuse
this
me,
time,
let's get a second.
I'll offer it.
But you shall offer?
I'll offer with changes.
You want to offer with changes?
Yes, on line 17, insert the figure $285,905.60 from the unreserved undesignated fund balance.
Second by Councilman G. Burke. All right, Mr. Russell?
Yes, this is an item that affects the contract that we have with Sleffer West for the operation of the pump station on Walker Road. We're in arrears since 2015, and at this time, I know that we have some work to do on the budget, but I would like to at this time pass this so we can get out of the debt that we're in with them.
Any questions from the table? This coming from the general fund?
The unreserved.
Unreserved fund?
Yes.
How much we have in there? We're still in stormy season, so I have a problem with taking it out of the emergency fund and general fund.
Well,
that's the only thing I have. I don't have a problem taking out bond indebtedness if you so desire.
Well, this is an unreserved undesignated fund balance that was rolled over from last year. So, I mean, at this time, I think it's time to catch up on the bills that we've been kicking down the road for 2 years.
Mr. President?
I think Mr. Serpa has addressed this earlier. Naturally, it would be the administration's position. This is a recurring debt, and we don't have a recurring revenue stream for it. So in the interim, I would request simply that that this would come out the BP settlement fund because we're low across the board.
Well, I dispute that because this is revenue that was recurring last year that rolled over from last year that we didn't spend. And so it depends on how you want to define a recurring revenue source. The BP money definitely is a one-time source. This is a surplus from last year that was not spent.
And that's where our definition is different because on the generally accepted accounting principles, if you have a revenue stream that's going to continue out but 3 years or longer, then it can be named as a recurring revenue. Here, the Schleffer West payments are 19%, I believe, every year, as long as that pump station or that system is in place. So we have a difference of opinion on how we use accounting terms, but one place where we don't have a difference of opinion is this payment to Schleffer West is a recurring expenditure. And I simply would request that since we don't have a matching recurring revenue, that we simply use the BP money at this time.
And so you argue against yourself if you're talking about one-time money to do a recurring expense that's going to be recurring. You know, we have a difference of opinion on this. The fact of the matter is that this is an obligation for a contract that we have been behind in payments for 15, 16, and now 17. We've paid some portions of it. And I look at the unreserved undesignated fund balance rollover as recurring revenue because it was budgeted last year, it was not spent, and it'll roll over to this year's budget, which it did for the unreserved undesignated fund balance. So if we would have paid it last year when we should have paid it, then this wouldn't have been a rollover. It would have been that much less coming into our budget this year. But we didn't pay it. for whatever reason. And the bottom line is, do you really want to support drainage or not? This is a pump station operation that we agreed to, we signed a contract with, and if you go in other parishes and you talk to people and they ask you when you're going to pay your bill, you know, it looks like we're being negligent on our obligation to a contract that we signed for drainage, for hurricane protection in this area. So, you know, we're not going to agree, obviously, on what the definition of the BP funds are. But in this case, you know, I'm sure in a few minutes you're going to have a position about all these positions that are on the table that you will not have a problem with.
Councilman Russo, we don't dispute that there's a payment that needs to be made. Our disagreement is from what fund source that payment should come this go-round. And with that, I'll turn it over to the Director of Finance.
What the rollover is whatever's left in the budget from the revenues and expenses. If we receive more revenues than we did expenses, more revenues than we budgeted, then you have a rollover in that. And I think that was around $1 million. Expenses, I think they left around almost $6 million. The expenses, the budget was a lot more than what they spent. So then those amounts went back into the fund balance. Now, I don't think last year we even had an expense for this. We did have it in I think 2016 we did, and I think 2015 we did have an expense for this.
Last year we appropriated money to pay the bill?
I don't think we did. It was in a project prior to this, and it wasn't actually in the operating budget. And then when that money ran out, then we didn't appropriate any money for it that I know of. But I didn't go back and look at that.
Well, the figures that I have that we owe currently, we owe $12,103.95 for the 2015-16 year. For the 2016-2017 year, we owe $178,009.59. And for the 2017-2018 year, we owe $418,000.
Right.
So what I've done is taken the 6 months out of the 2017, because we're on a different fiscal year,
right,
and put it into the figure to come up with the 285. So that will clear the budget for the end of this year. Right. Now, when the budget is presented to us in November 2017 for 2018, you're going to have to budget something in there for this contract, or somebody's going to have to go renegotiate the contract. We can't just keep throwing these things under the rug.
Right.
We have an obligation, and they're either going to fulfill it or we're not. And I'd like to honor this government's word that we are going to fill it, and we will fulfill it from funds that came from the rollover. Because the idea of having this in the budget when we should have had it in the budget would have meant that the rollover would have been less.
Yeah, if it would have been in there. Yeah.
If it would have been in there, but it wasn't.
It wasn't in, no.
So, anyway.
I have some issues. We do have recurring revenues with BP for a couple of years. Each year we will assume an increase of $5 million rollover. Each year for what, 5 years? So that's 4 years. That's recurring revenue. The other thing is that we can put this money and get it from the levy districts, because that's an obligation and responsibility of those lands to support that through the levy districts, to make sure the funding is there for that purpose. And that's what they're designed for. So we need to make sure with the legislation that we put it in this posture to make sure those revenues come from that source, and they'll be ongoing. So, but my thing would be take it out of BP, because we do have 4 more years of $5 million to come out, $1 million coming in. That's all I have. Anybody else? Any other questions? Audience? Machine yes, sir. Okay, machine is open.
Yeah, I voted. Thank you.
Next item, please.
6J, an ordinance to amend and as amended readopt ordinance number 08-211, the floodplain management regulations, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
It's been offered and seconded by Councilmember Juneau. What this is adopting the flood maps within the 100-year protection, as we had discussed last meeting, and I ask for your support.
Any questions from the table? Audience? Machine is open. Passes 9-0. Next,
Thank you.
please.
K, a resolution adopting the Plaquemines Parish Government Hazard Mitigation Assistance procurement policy and procedures as required in the utilization of FEMA HMA funds allocated to the Plaquemines Parish Government and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilman Russo.
Yes, this is a administration record. I'll offer it next or second.
Second?
This is
Is there a second? I second it. Go ahead, Mr. Rousseau.
This is an administration request from the Grants Department on adopting the policy that says that we will follow the state and federal guidelines for FEMA services and acquisition of goods and services. So the requirements and all are attached. I believe we are following these requirements now to make sure that we are in compliance with the guidelines. And on behalf of the administration requesting this, I offered.
Questions for the table? Audience? Machine is open. It passes 9-0.
Thank you.
L, an ordinance to amend the 2017 General Fund Manpower Structure and Operating Expenditure Budget, Maintenance, Safety, and Flood Control Departments, and to authorize an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish Government and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Can you, administration, you have to fill in the blank before we can offer. Y'all had any, Tommy, did they suggest where they want this from?
Basically, I could give you the rundown of the fund balances. I mean, we, we decide which fund balance you want to take it out of.
It's 21,690.
Okay, it's more than that. It's 21,000 for the first one, for the first position, and that's the one for maintenance. Yeah, and then it's 22,380. That's for the safety department. We add them up right now. And then you have 192,790 for the flood control department. It's 235,860 for total.
And that's till the end of the year, so you're looking at adding about $500,000 to the payroll right here.
More than that. That's probably for 3 months. So if you
That's 3 months?
if you budgeted a whole year, you're probably looking at closer to 800,000.
Can,
Yes.
is there
I'd
anybody
like
who
to
can
offer an
with
amendment, Mr.
changes?
Bartholomew, to this
Amended?
ordinance.
Bert?
I say this is just me, I would offer lines 72 and 73 and delete lines 74 through 83.
I'll second amendment.
The electrician and the safety engineer?
Yes, ma'am. Line 72 and line 73, which is the maintenance department,
Delete the
one
rest.
master electrician, and the safety department, one safety engineer. And I would delete lines 74 through 83, which is flood control, truck drivers, heavy equipment operators.
And Mr.
I think you'd have to delete 59 through 68 as well.
That's for the high.
No, 56, huh?
Yeah, right,
From
56 through 68.
56 through 68.
Just 69, 60.
Right, you're also going to have to look at section 1, too. They're listed there.
Let me just offer, and if you want to vote it down, you vote it down. Money comes out of bond indebtedness.
You
Can
want
we?
to put bond indebtedness?
Yes. And then we call for a vote. Nobody vote.
Why can't we just amend it?
But we'd like to salvage a couple of these
Well,
positions.
you come back with, well, there's two.
Okay.
John wants to
I'm offering an amendment.
Voting on to, Charlie voted on amendment for two positions. You got way more than two positions that is needed according to this argument on the floor, on the table. And now you want to vote for the first two, which is, maintenance department, master electrician, and safety department, safety engineer. That's the only two positions that want to be considered. So you don't want to consider the rest of them. So my point is that put them all on the table, and you don't vote for it, you kill them all, and then come back and put the other two back.
And that's a whole
Next
nother
council.
month. That's a whole nother month.
Yeah. Let me.
You made the amendment to do that, and I'll make an amendment for it all to come out of the bond indebtedness. So you vote the amendment down, then you have to go back to with his recommendation.
Well, if there's an amendment on the floor, I'd ask that Mr. Burke consider these added to your amendment. On line 9, after the word department, delete the entirety of line all the way down to 14. On line 25, after department, delete the remainder of the line all the way down to 28. On line 31, insert unreserved undesignated fund balance instead of bond indebtedness. Delete, as you said earlier, 56 through 68 and 74 through 83.
I will agree with those changes,
Yes.
Mr. Rousseau.
Line 44, huh?
Unreserved undesignated
It's
as well on
44
44.
It's 44 an hour, yeah.
Correct. 44.
All right, you want to clear the amendment up and read it out, please?
On, you want me to read it or you want me to? On line, this would, the intent of this legislation will take and fund two positions from the unreserved undesignated fund balance of a maintenance department master electrician and a safety department safety engineer. And the amendment on line 9, after the word safety department, deletes the entirety of the line all the way down to the end of line 14. And on line 25, after safety department, it deletes the remainder of the line and all the way to 28. On line 31, you insert unreserved undesignated fund balance. On line 44, unreserved undesignated fund balance. And on line 56 through 68, it's deleted. On line 72, 74 through 83 is deleted.
So all the position under flood control is eliminated, is deleted. All right. All right, it has been, Mr. Bright has offered the amendment. It's been seconded by Councilman Russo. We're voting on the amendment. Any questions from the table? It has been duly author and second. Yes, sir.
I'm in the position of a pauper in this case. Naturally, we would not, this administration would not ask this honorable council if these positions weren't needed. But at the same time, given the impecuniary, I should say the record low numbers of manpower, I'll take what I can get. But I simply want, to reiterate that right now we have, what, 7 heavy equipment operators? 7 heavy equipment operators in a parish with 9 districts. So, but with that, I come as a beggar, and naturally I'd prefer if we could have this whole ordinance passed, but I'll take what you can get, you can give me.
Any comments from the audience? Machine is open.
Yes. Before I cast my vote, at some point, we're going to have to address the drainage issue, you know. But I agree with what was said earlier, and I think we should move forward with the two by prioritizing the listing of the master electrician and the safety engineer. But I just want my colleagues to bear in mind that at some point, we're going to have to address the drainage, the situation in drainage.
Passes 9-0. Next, please.
That was the amendment.
The amendment, next. Go read the ordinance again, please. The amended ordinance.
An ordinance to amend the 2017 General Fund Manpower Structure and Operating Expenditure Budget, Maintenance, Safety, and Flood Control Departments, and to authorize an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Been offered by Councilman Burt, second by Councilman Roussel. Any questions from the table? Audience, the machine is open. Yeah, as amended. Passes 9-0. Next item, please.
6M, an ordinance to amend the 2017 Road Maintenance Fund Manpower Structure and Operating Expenditure Budget, Public Right-of-Way Maintenance Department, and to authorize an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'd like to yield to the administration with blanks at this time as well.
Yes.
Under discussion. Well, I'm trying to fill in the blanks first. Do you have any? Fill in the blanks.
Yes, if we could have a update, what is unreserved, undesignated, lowered down to now with the,
Just trying to fill in the blanks. What's the vote? You can vote down. That's what you'll take the money out of there?
I prefer, naturally, I prefer out of the fund that's much more, has much more cash in it, but before we proceed forward, I'm anticipating another amendment. Let's see how low we've gone there. And that's after backing out these. Okay.
We started off with $2,492,000, took out $285,000, and then another $44,000.
I'd like to fill in either bonded indebtedness or from another fund, but I think my wishes are known.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
Yeah. Williams?
Tommy, Rochelle, how many tractor drivers currently do we have? How many? So we have 25 on the books right now, currently 25 tractor drivers. We have 25 tractor drivers employed right now at this time. And Stanley, you had 14 tractors, you said, that weren't being utilized?
Excuse me. Let's take a 5 minutes recess. $319. We have an amendment from Ms. Williams.
Yes, I'd like to offer to amend this ordinance on line 7. I'd like to change the word 12 to 2. And then the amount on line 22 would be finance.
The total for 2 is $35,100.
And on line 22, scratch out 210,600 to 25,100, you said?
Yes. 35.
And I would like to omit lines 39 through, well, I don't know, because mine's,
What you can do, Nicole, is change one of those, leave 6 and 14, but change number, what was that, 18? Change that to number 7, because that's the vacant
that's the
one.
vacant position, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, on line, we won't omit line 39, we'll change the, I guess it's the employee, the job to 07, so it'll be 781-2342-07. And then omit lines 40 through 43 on this page, and on the second page, lines 1 through 5.
Do you have to change those lines? In the little box?
Line,
You're going to have to change those numbers too.
yeah, and line 18 is going to have to be changed as well, from 12 to 2. And what is the boxes, Rochelle?
Salaries and wages will be $20,560. FICA taxes will be $300. Retirement $2,680. And group insurance $11,560.
It's going to come from unreserved, undesignated. That would be on line 22.
I hope this is, I didn't have time to add them.
And with those changes, I offer the amendment.
Ms. Williams offers, second by Ms. Williams. Any questions from,
Ms. Salvin, second.
yes, that's it. I'm
You
sorry.
said Williams.
Ms. Williams, okay, Ms. Williams offers, Ms. Sullivan, second. Are there any questions from the table? Audience? Machine is up.
Harry Colligan, 31975, Highway 23 in Buras. I'd like to know exactly who is being cut and what by what number.
It's not, no one's being cut. This was additional tractor drivers that the administration was requesting. They were requesting 12. So we are, and they have 1 vacancy, so we're going to approve to hire 2 new and fill the vacancy for a total of 3.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the audience? Machine is open. It passes 9-0. Next, please. The amendment. Now, read the amendment, please. We're going to vote on the amendment to pass.
An ordinance to amend the 2017 Road Maintenance Fund Manpower Structure and Operating Expenditure Budget, Public Right-of-Way Maintenance Department, and to authorize an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Offered by Ms. Williams, second by Councilman Russell. Are there any questions on the table? Audience, the machine is open. The audience passes 9-0.
6N, an ordinance to amend the 2017 General Fund Manpower Structure and Operating Expenditure Budget, Director of Operations, Director of Administration, and Director of Public Service Departments, and to authorize an emergency exception to the hiring freeze enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Do we have the blanks fill in?
The administration would prefer that to come from the BP settlement fund.
Is he the one? It's his list. That's legislation. So be it. It's been our offer, and the lines are filled in from BP. Money. Is there a second? Is there a second? Second by Ms. Solvent. Any questions or comments from the table?
Mr. John,
Yes.
we didn't put the money, we actually didn't put the money in the BP settlement fund at this point. So this is something we could probably pass over, or we could go to that other agenda item that takes up the BP settlement fund, because we didn't put the revenues in there, and we didn't
Okay.
actually designate that money yet. So we kind of just putting the cart before the horse.
All right, go ahead.
Tommy, where is the money now? We'll just put that designation.
We deposited the money. The money is in the bank account that was designated by that was set up by the council. But we actually didn't pass an ordinance yet to designate those funds into BP. So the money actually hadn't been put in the budget yet.
So then it's unreserved, undesignated.
Not yet, because we didn't even put the revenue in yet. You see what I'm saying? That's what's on the agenda today. To actually when we put the revenue in, the $25 million will go to unreserved, undesignated. But we didn't do that yet. That's what I'm trying to say. If we pass this, it's really passing it before we have a chance to put the money in the BP designation fund. So that item would be II. That would be II. Now, that's the revenue ordinance that we put on the table. It was just a generic ordinance. We made changes to it to actually put the money for the BP in there and also put the revenue reduction ordinance in there with that. So before we could really take any money out of the BP designation, we need to put it in there.
So you need to revert to I before you can do anything.
Right, right.
You want to defer that, Mr. President?
Yes, please.
You want to defer it? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry, not defer. Could we take
Oh, you want to go to
take
I?
up 6
All right.
I?
All right. We'll come back to this later. We pass over at this time and go to I. I at this time.
You should have a change for that one.
An ordinance to amend the 2017 operating revenue budget, various funds, various departments, various line items, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'd like to offer with the changes being passed out.
I just have a comment, Mr. Bartholomew.
Well, let's you want to read the changes,
Since
please?
there's so many changes, I'll just read the whole
All
entire
right.
thing.
Let's go.
In ordinance to amend the 2017 operating revenue budget, various funds, various departments, various line items, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Whereas after the mid-year budget review of the 2017 operating revenue budget, various amendments are necessary, and the next 4 paragraphs are added. Whereas ordinance number 17-67 dated May 25th, 2017, established bank accounts entitled BP Settlement Fund and required that no funds are to be transferred or expended from said accounts without an affirmative vote of at least 2/3 of the council's entire membership. And whereas in August 2017, the Plaquemines Parish government received the first payment of the BP settlement in the amount of $15 million, less attorney fees of $435,057 for a net deposit of $8,564,943 into the established accounts. And whereas the Plaquemines Parish government will receive an additional $10 million in October 2017 for a total 2017 settlement revenue of $25 million and a total 2017 designation of fund balance for the BP settlement in the amount of $18,564,943. And whereas, due to the reductions in the 2017 oil and gas and sales tax revenue projections, 2017 revenue reduction amendments in the amount of $5,017,800 are necessary, and the parish council hereby authorizes the use of the fund balance designated for the BP settlement to fund these reductions, leaving a remaining balance in this fund designation of $13,547,143. Now therefore be it ordained by the Plaquemines Parish Council that, Section 1, the 2017 operating revenue budget is amended as follows. The general fund. Do I read each line item?
Yeah.
000-0000 general revenue, 434.105 state 10% royalties, decrease $626,250. 0000000 general revenue, 434.105 463.001 oil royalties parish decreased $3,649,510. Item 000-0000 general revenue, line item 463.401 gas royalties parish increases $31,360. 000-0000 general revenue, line item 489.100 settlements-BP increases $25 million. 524-2560 sales tax, line item 411.005 tax-sales and use decreases $504,940. 525-2560 sales tax, line item 411.020 tax-sales and use audits decreases $268,460 for a total revenue of $19,982,200. Firefighting fund. 470-2400 firefighting general, line item 411.205 tax-sales and use FF decreases $504,940. 470-2400 firefighting general, line item 411.220 tax, sales and use audits FF decreases $268,460 for a total decrease of $773,400. Section 2, per ordinance 17-67 dated May 25, 2017, the parish council hereby designates the amount of $18,564,943 to the fund balance designation for the BP settlement. Section 3, the parish council hereby authorizes the transfer of $5,017,800 from the fund balance designated for the BP settlement to the general fund unreserved undesignated fund balance to fund the 2017 revenue reductions, oil and gas royalties, and sales tax revenues.
I offer with those changes. Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Sullivan. Question from the table. Councilman Black.
Yeah, just to be clear, so out of the funds that we have already received on the BP settlement, just so everybody's clear on how this, it's been a lot of reading going on. So I just want Tommy, just to, in layman's terms, you're taking the total amount, putting $18.5 million into that fund balance designation, and then transferring $5 million out of that into the general fund?
Right, for the reduction of the revenues, that $5 million reduction in the revenues for all the gas royalties and sales taxes. So basically what you're going to do, the first thing you're going to do here is you're going to, if you look at each reduction, and you're going to put in $25 million in the revenue for the BP settlement, the whole $25 million. Now, I could not put the expense for the legal fees on this ordinance because if you look at the preamble says revenue budget. So it's going to be, that expense is going to be shown in the, on HH, which is the expenditure budget thing. So basically we have to do these two together. So we put taking the $25 million, putting it in there. We're taking that, we're going to reduce that $6 million of the legal fees, so that's going to be $18 million that's actually going to go into the BP fund. The reduction in revenues comes up to be $5,017,000, I think it is. We're going to take that money out of the BP fund and that's going to be the funding source for these reductions. So it's going to leave $13,547,143 in the BP fund, and it's going to reduce the revenues in the general fund. And also on this ordinance is the firefighting fund, the sales tax, which is not going to be affected by those numbers, but it's going to also come out of the firefighting fund, unreserved, undesignated.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Williams?
how much do we have left in unreserved, undesignated after we made the changes we just made?
Hold on 1 second. I think it's $2,118,000.
Councilman Lapine?
passed today for the positions, does that affect this number?
No.
No,
No, we
this
just
is
said items
revenues.
as undesignated.
This is all revenues, yes, sir.
Councilman Roussel?
Yep, we haven't received $25 million, have we?
Not yet. We're
So-
supposed to receive another 10 million in October.
So how does this square up with the position that we've heard about budgeting money that we haven't had? I mean, took a
Well-
meeting over LERDS about budgeting money and expending it. Now, we're coming back and it's okay in this instance to do it?
Well, I don't know about that instance, but I can tell you, if we have if we know we're going to receive that money, we have the paperwork that says how much we're going to receive, then we should budget it.
The
As a
distinction,
revenue or an expense.
Right, so I'm trying to get the understanding how it's okay in this instance, but it wasn't okay in the instance of the LERDS project that we got beat up on.
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yes, Mr. President.
The distinction is that this is not an accounts receivable. This is a contract, well, it's a contractual right. It's a federal court order. So if they don't pay, if BP doesn't pay the $10 million in October, they're going to have a federal judge who's going to start seizing the assets to make sure we get paid. This is not an accounts receivable.
So your distinction is that it's okay to budget this, but it's not okay to budget the LERDS money?
The distinction is that this is based upon a court order, and the money is already in a trust account. So there's no wiggle room, no holding up the check on this. We're not having to put an accounts receivable on this one.
So you like the court order better than the congressional act?
I like a court order with a trust fund that's easily accessible to a judge, more so than accounts receivable, and that's discretionary based upon somebody else.
Right. Well, I'm just drawing this distinction because the congressional act pretty much dictates where that money goes, that put the levies in the federal system, and, you know, that's where it's got to be spent. So, I mean, you talk about discretionary, but yeah, I'm trying to rationalize this without splitting babies and splitting hairs and splitting legal opinions to where it's basically something that we need to do.
The difference is that a court order, federal court settlement order, has teeth in it. The judge can enforce it. The judge is a third party, not BP. In this congressional appropriation, as you know, the district engineer gets to determine when our check comes.
Any other comments from the table? Audience, machine is open.
So, Mr. Badawi, before we cast the vote, I would ask that we defer this and give this council time to analyze this rather than giving this short period of time to make decisions on such a matter.
I would agree and request the same, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. President, it's been requested by 2 council members. What you want to do? 3? They want to ask you to defer.
This was the director of finance's work. So
Right, it was, and I put this together so that, you know, we do need to designate the funds for BP and to put the money in there. Like I said, one way or the other, we need to do that. That's why I gave you at the budget hearings, we looked at the reductions in the revenues. We saw that, and this is just simply just putting the money into, designating the money into the BP fund.
But it's also taken
Which-
out to pay down the.
It's taking money out to pay to do the reductions, which we have to do. I mean, it's not something I like to do either, but we have no choice in it. I mean, we all looked at it, the royalties are not going to make it through the end of the year, it's for sure, our budget. So,
Let me ask you this, could it be that the number's going to grow if we don't get the funding that we have in the budget? For instance, the $90,000 for the road contract that we're not going to sign, we will have to reduce the revenue by that. The LV money that LV said we were going to have, is that all included in this reduction of revenue?
no, that's not included in that because we're still assuming that we're going to receive the money for the concursus cases. I was told for sure we'd have it before the end of the year.
And how much is that?
That was $1.5 million that I put into the budget. Now, the cases, I think, were actually more than that, around $2.3 million. But we had put the $1.5 million in the budget at the beginning of the year, and I was told that we're definitely going to receive that.
Right, but we haven't received it yet, and so.
We haven't received it yet. No,
So that'll
no.
be on top of this as far as revenue coming.
Well, if we don't receive it towards the end of the year, and then I'll start getting nervous, and we'll have to do another ordinance. But as far as I've been told now, by the legal team and Mr. Cormier, we will definitely receive that. And Mr. LB told me also. He's just waiting for the funds to come in.
Mr. President, you want to move forward or defer?
This is Director of Finance's work. I was just informed to this, so I'm deferring to our Director of Finance, who's been here. How many years, Tommy?
28 years.
I'm sorry?
28 years.
28 years.
Question has been called. Machine is open. Five, 4. So that means it passes, right? 4 abstentions. Next, please.
I have a question on that. Does this actually, since it is BP funds being transferred, require a 2/3 vote?
Correct.
Or when you take the money out, you come back?
Exactly. That's why I abstained.
Okay, next question, please.
No, that needs to be answered.
Did it pass or did it fail?
Oh, so it failed.
Next question, please.
That's my point.
6M.
Yeah. M.
We passed over that. An ordinance to amend the 2017 Road Maintenance Fund, Manpower Structure and Operating Expenditure Budget, Public Right-of-Way Maintenance Department, and to authorize an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted. Sorry, reading the wrong one. 6N is in Nancy. An ordinance to amend the 2017 General Fund Manpower Structure and Operating Expenditure Budget, Director of Operations, Director of Administration, and Director of Public Service Departments, and to authorize an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of the Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Offer. Do you have any blanks in it? I'm sorry. Wait. Do we have blanks? Okay, since, the question that the BP ordinance hadn't passed, so we couldn't take the money out of it, the BP fund. So this can't be funded because this would be coming out of the BP, my understanding, BP money, right? Huh? Let's go to Passover. Let's go next one, please.
6O. An ordinance to amend the 2017 General Fund Manpower Structure and Operating Expenditure Budget, Drainage Stock Shop Department, and to authorize an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Sean, we have any idea where this money coming from for the pump operators?
No, sir. We're going to take it out of BP.
Let's take it to rollover money. The pump station, pump operator. The open, the new position. Oh. You want to defer? Mr. President?
I'm sorry, is this the pump operators?
Yes.
Oh, no, we do not want to defer it.
All right.
We most certainly, I certainly want to bring to the attention of this honorable council, 33 CFR 208.10. We have duty, subsection F. We have a duty.
Wait, excuse me. Let's just, I offer it. I need a second.
You have to offer with
Second
changes?
by-
You have to offer with changes, Mr.
The
Chairman?
change came out of the rollover
Oh, I
money.
didn't
So
hear.
I just said that.
Rollover? Okay.
Yeah. All right, unreserved, someone. Mr. Gino, second. All right, go ahead, Mr. President.
Yes, we had this discussion earlier about new earthen levees, many more square miles of earthen levees that we're entertaining and taking over. And also, we took on some new pump stations. We have a duty to the people of this parish and to the property owners of this parish to protect that property. And we certainly don't want to have happen what happened in Orleans Parish in Plaquemines. So I would respectfully request that you support this measure. It's not just showing up during a flood period. This is about maintaining those engines, regular maintenance, keeping logs, so that the people of this parish aren't put in harm's way and aren't put in jeopardy like what happened in Orleans Parish. So I would respectfully request your support.
And
we need this.
I might add, Mr. Chairman, that the recent fire that we just had today in Orleans Parish, where they had to shut the schools down and everything because they were worried about potential flooding since the power sources for the pumps went out. This is also part of that. We've been looking at the regulations and at the different grant language, and from what we can tell, it's not optional. We have to fund this. And so in this sense, it's just like with Slough West that we discussed earlier today. We have an obligation, and we have to fund that obligation. Otherwise, we'll be in default as to the assumption by the various levy districts of those federal levies.
Councilman Juneau and Councilman Burt.
Yeah. Is this 5 to replace the 5 that's retiring in December and 2 extra ones? Or is this 7 new ones? That's what I want to get in the fix.
I'm sorry. We have Mr. Simpson here. It's my appreciation you have Mr. Juneau, but Mr. Simpson can answer more of these questions. We have 22 pump stations. We have 13 pump operators.
Of 14 operators that are present and working. One just recently retired, but we have a total of 16 funded positions of pump station operator.
Okay, but we have 22 pump stations. Now, one thing that we learned from the Orleans fiasco is that we have to account for human error or human sickness. I think we have a mechanic who's sick, or
we have a mechanic and a pump operator for the Boothville area.
But so the point being that, like I said, in 33 CFR 208.10, there's regular logs at each pump station and it's supposed to be, maintained. We don't have enough pump operators for every pump station. We have, there will be retirements coming, but this is about being, not just for the immediate time, but this is about being prepared for the future as well. It takes time to train. This is expensive equipment, and, we want to prepare for the future.
Okay, and one more question, Mr. Simpson. In case we can't hire these people, and we will try to hire them, but if we can't, are you available to replace somebody if they get sick? Or can you go work in the pumping station?
I currently do that now on a regular basis.
Okay, do you have anyone else that can do that?
I have one other, my foreman, Martin Johnson, the retiree that just retired in June, was my third go-to guy for covering all the stations parish-wide.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Burt, then Councilman Lapine.
I just have one question on some of these stations that are not manned. I'm looking at Hero Canal, West Point, Lahash, Oakville, Barrier Pond, and Belchase number 2. Have these pump stations ever been manned?
They are manned on an as-needed basis.
So as far as you can remember, these stations have never had a full-time operator?
It does not require a full-time operator.
I guess touching on Mr. Burt's, and that was my question too. How many we have that are running that we have a man operating?
You have 16 major stations that you have to cover for a rain event. Now, it doesn't always rain in every district at the same time. Right. And we've been jockeying people around to cover those stations. But during a hurricane event, they all have to be manned.
Okay. And in touching on that, can somebody from prom, heavy equipment, or somebody be transferred there or overtime or do overtime in that capacity?
We're doing that now to make up for the shortfall in the department.
Okay, so these people are not actually trained, they just be filling in the gaps.
I have one guy from public right-of-way maintenance and one guy from the maintenance department that were former Citrus Lands employees. I used them during Tropical Storm Cindy to cover 24-hour shifts at Point Celeste, which is a station they used to operate for their former employer.
Okay, I guess that's my question. So they're not properly trained, but they just kind of man the pumping station?
They are trained because they actually trained us when we took over that station.
Okay. During Tropical Storm Cindy, did we have volunteer fire department people working pumping station?
We had them with our operators for a safety factor, so that nobody would be left at a station by themselves.
So that's considered an emergency plan?
Yes. Yes.
Correct?
And that's common with every tropical storm or hurricane.
All right.
Councilmember Black.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, just so we make sure we make the right decision here. So we have 22 stations. Of those 22, only 16 are required to be fully manned, correct?
Correct.
Okay. We currently have 14 operators.
You have 14 operators that are showing up daily for work. One
Okay.
has retired,
Right.
and one is out on medical leave. It's not likely he's going to return. We're waiting for a
and we
decision
have-
from his doctor.
So we have 2 vacant funded positions, right?
You have one that's vacant and funded. That there's an item on the agenda to lift a hiring freeze to advertise for that position.
Is that on this item?
No, it's not on this item. It's a separate item.
So this is for an additional, I think this is, huh?
No, 6 new positions.
This is just for 6 new positions. Now, this is for 7. Yeah, so I'm telling you, I think one of them is funded on this one, right? On this ordinance, one of them is funded. Then why we have 7?
There's one unfunded in the manpower structure.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out from finance real quick, because on this particular ordinance, it calls for 7 positions.
7 new positions.
7 new positions.
Right.
So let me ask you this. If we said, let's go ahead and lift the freeze for the funded position, that would give you 17.
Yes.
Right? And then if we said, let's go ahead and pass this ordinance and give you 7 more, that would give you 24.
Correct.
Okay? And then if we pass item FF, then that would give you 5 trainees, so you'd have 29 positions. And then at the end of the day, when they retire, we'd have 24. We'd be back to 24 full-time pump operators.
To 24.
For 22 stations, and only 16 are required. So what are those 8 people going to do day-to-day who don't have a station to be at?
They're going to perform daily maintenance like my other crews do now. And that also
I mean,
includes...
do you need 24 pump operators?
In the event that somebody's sick or somebody's out or there's an illness in the family, yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with giving funding for, 7 new positions, but not specifically drainage department or pump operators. If they were in prom or heavy equipment who was cross-trained to man pumps in the event of a storm, I could live with that.
Right.
Because it would kill 2 birds with 1 stone. It would give Mr. Wallace additional personnel in heavy equipment, which is drainage, or flood control. And then, so that's the only way I can live with that. I can't vote on 7 new ones. I'll definitely vote to give you the 5 trainees, and I'll vote to lift the freeze on the 1 position that's vacant and funded. But I can't, the way it's set up now, a vote to give you 7 additional on top of all of those.
Currently, though, I'm short because of the one guy retiring. If you lift the hiring freeze, I can replace him. That's a wash. I'm no better or no worse. But at the end of the year, I'm going to lose 6 additional personnel from the department. And if we don't do something to replace those guys prior to them leaving, then I have nobody. I'm going to be 6 short at the end of the year.
No, we have an agenda item, FF, to go ahead and hire 5 people to be trained,
Yeah.
to be pump operators to replace those guys.
Okay.
We have on this ordinance, I mean, on one ordinance somewhere, I don't know where it's at, to unfreeze the funded, so you will have 6.
Okay.
But, you know, I can't support additional 7.
If I could get the hiring freeze lifted for that one and get 6 additional, that will,
When you say 6 additional, you mean 5 trainees?
well, it'd be 6 trainees, because I'm losing 7 altogether. One you're going to replace if you lift the hiring freeze, and then the 6. And that come January, when everybody's gone and the new guys are in and trained,
Okay.
I'm no better than what I was. I'm no worse either.
I know, but we're talking about, because we talk about 2 different ordinances. We're
Yes.
talking about this one, which is
Actually,
7
there's
new,
3.
and then we're talking about FF, which is actually, the way it's written, is 5 trainees.
Correct. 5 would put me 2 short.
Okay, well, then we'll
Not
give
counting
you,
the 2
I can
that's
give you the other
already-
one, you know.
So you
which
need
is-
6 trainees
I
and,
need, I need
the
six, I need 6 trainees and the one hiring freeze lifted for the currently funded position.
I can live with that. I can't live with 7 additional.
Right. I don't want to overstock the department, but I need to have the personnel. And Mr. Lepine's correct. I can still borrow from other departments, but my problem is I don't have full 100% control over those employees because they do not work for me in my department.
So,
Councilman Lepine?
Greg, are we anticipating, or are we down with any pumping station, with any maintenance on pumps
We
at the present time? Are
I gave Patrick a list, and I copied Mr. Comier and Mr. Wallace yesterday morning to let him know the pump at Belchase number 1 that's been down, that work is about 3 weeks away from being completed. That station will be back at 100%.
That's one of our main stations?
That is one of our main, that is our largest station in the parish. But the work's been ongoing for
right now,
over a year now.
So right now, the pumping capacity is half?
No. It's 75%.
Okay.
We're only down 1/4%.
And that's being fixed now?
That is being fixed, and it's 3 weeks away from completion.
Is any other station that's
You,
in?
you have the Ollie pumping station that the pump went out June 5th, that is currently at the shop being repaired, and we need some money appropriated for it to move forward with the repair on it. And if we take action now and get the money appropriated to be able to fund it and finish the project, it'll be done around mid-November.
Okay.
yes, I can support the training positions as well, and funding the vacant position, or lifting the freeze for the vacant position. I agree with Councilman Black on the process. The pond pump, you know, I had called about Human Resources, asking for the list of the retirees, and I don't know, you had got the request, but I think the request was diverted, because I got a response that I had to call the administration to get the answer of who was retiring. Do you have a list of those?
Yeah, it's Carl Bulott, Martin Johnson's already retired, Roland Galloway, Kenny Kiff. Councilman Byrd has it.
So let me ask you this. In the process of, like, for instance, Martin leaving, is he willing to come back and work part-time?
He would have to remain out for whatever his drop participation was, which I believe was about 1.5 years. So he couldn't come back until 1.5 years after he was actually retired.
So do you have other retirees that might want to come back that have been out for 1.5 years that might want to work part-time?
I have one that has inquired about it. He used to run the Dubic station in Boothville.
Nicole.
But I don't know how serious he is about coming back.
Okay. Come on, let's
So
move.
what I'm
We're
thinking
taking too
about
much
is
time. I think Ms. Nicole gonna amend this current to address the one full-time position, then we can move to FF.
Nicole, it's on S. Yeah, if you withdraw this one and we move to S, that will lift the freeze on one vacant funded position, and then if we move to FF, I'll make an amendment, or somebody can make an amendment to add an additional trainee to give them 6 trainees. No, the one we're on now is 7 additional. No, it doesn't. S it does. Well, this thing's totally wrong, because S is the one that lifts the hiring freeze for the one pump station operator. I just verified that with finance.
This is to lift the hiring freeze. Lifts the hiring freeze on all the 7. On the
Yeah.
7 that we're going to add. If this passes, it's going to lift the hiring freeze on the 7 new ones.
7 new ones. That's
Okay,
S. That's S. S has got that covered, Nicole. No.
No, just move to
No, S covers the 1. If we just withdraw this and we move to S and vote on S, that will give him 1 funded position, lift the hiring freeze, and then if we move to FF and we amend it to make it 6 instead of 5, he'll have 6 trainees. Because it's not trainees, because it's different. It's a different source.
I'm going to withdraw O. No, withdraw O.
No, he won't be.
I would have to borrow from other departments for a parish-wide major rain event, yes. Yes.
And that's the concern. And the other concern is like I said, the Corps, we took on 4 new pump stations with the adoption of the Myrtle Grove area and with some of the construction. And the Corps has these regulations that our guys are doing the best they can to try to follow them with the regular maintenance logs and everything, but pumping is not something we should.
We're not. He said he has 16. Okay. We're not.
How many are you short of now?
I'm short filling in 1 position in the pump station operator 2 position.
So all you need is 1 person to do the pump stations, because you're not short.
I'm short, but I have 2 funded positions that are filled, but I have my mechanic and 1 of the pump station operator positions. Those 2 guys are out on medical leave. The pump station operator that's out on medical leave is not likely to return. My mechanic has been told by his doctor he is likely to return to work November 5th.
So all pump stations are adequate manned.
We're covering it the best that we can.
No. My question is.
Oh, budget-wise?
No, I'm just talking about personnel-wise.
Personnel-wise, we are covering it the best that we can.
Well, how many you need to make it work efficient?
I need the 7.
You need 7.
I need the 7. The 1 hiring freeze lifted, so for the funded position to get that filled, and get the 6 trainees.
Right. Which helps. So if we would withdraw this and we pass out of S and then amend FF to make it 6 instead of 5, that gives them exactly what you want, right?
Yes, and what I'd like to do is request that I come back after January and the retirees are gone, and we revisit this and see where we may be short or what we may need. It gets confusing trying to do it all at one time.
Well,
I'm clear.
to make sure you have enough people in case we have a crisis, that everybody have enough to take care of the pump station.
We have it covered with the help of the fire department. The fire department's going to help us out.
See, that's my point. I'm talking about nobody else.
Well,
I'm talking about what you need in your department.
Right.
Because you see, that's a problem. Excuse me. Ms. Williams? Ms. Solomon, I'm sorry. All right. We deferred item?
Withdraw.
I'm deferred.
I just like to state record, the reason why we requested the 7 is because I'm sure there's always some way to do a Band-Aid approach. But when it comes to drainage, when it comes to an issue like this, are we allowing enough for human frailty? Somebody gets sick, something happens, a child, somebody gets hospitalized, an elderly parent who lives in another state. You know, in Jefferson and Orleans. Of course, Orleans isn't a good example to cite anymore, but that's the only reason why we requested it, just to give us a little breathing room on something as critical as this.
Let me address that. The Hurricane Procedures Manual for 2017 for pumping station hurricane preparedness that the parish operates under the 2017 plan. If you go to page 4, and you look at the operation for emergency, it's very clear there that what happens. It says one operator is assigned to each pumping station. That's what we're doing. It also says volunteer personnel will be selected from other departments to receive basic operating training. That's what you should be doing. These
That's what we've
personnel will
done.
be, then we shouldn't have a problem then.
But no, it's, as Councilman Lepine pointed out, we have firemen who are willing to go out and help and assist, and that's mainly in case of a medical emergency or an accident of the pump operator, in the ones where we do have people to man the stations.
This is hurricane preparedness operational plan that the parish has for 2017. That's what we operate under, or we should be operating under, or you need to change the plan. So, in my checking with surrounding parishes, for instance, in Terrebonne Parish, you call them and you meet with them, they'll explain to you exactly how it works. They use people from other departments all the time. It's not uncommon. It's a common practice. And I challenge you to call the president over there and check with him. I see that they're, never mind.
I'd like to defer this item. Next, please.
Mr.
So what happened with that legislation?
It's deferred.
If you don't mind, Mr. Bartholomew, I mean, can we move to S, then FF, and just?
Yeah, we can move to that right now.
In case
No
it rains.
problem. Let's go to S.
In case we need to roll the pump, getting out of here.
Let's go to those two in that sequence, please.
6S, an ordinance authorizing an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I offer, a second by Councilman Black. Any questions from the tape? Audience. The machine is open. It passes 9-0. Let's go to FF.
An ordinance to amend the 2017 general fund manpower structure and operating expenditure budget, interim employee training department, and to authorize an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I offer, second by Councilman Black.
You got to fill in the blank on.
The blank to come from unreserved undesignated funds.
Do y'all want to make this 6?
Yeah,
All right, we'll amend it to make 6. That's good.
Yeah.
Before I offer.
Okay, on line 9,
Yeah.
you're going to have to change 5 to 6.
And also the funding mechanism, put that
On
in
line
there.
20,
It's not.
y'all numbers are different again?
It's line 7.
In section 1, you're going to have to change to 5 to 6. In section 2, you're going to add another interim employee drainage pump station operator 2, 5332162-06. In section 3, the total now is going to be $95,700. Where do y'all want to take it from?
Unreserved, undesignated.
Unreserved?
Yeah.
Okay. The salaries and wages will now have a total of $59,340. FICA taxes, $840.
Hold on, don't go so fast. 840, okay.
Retirement, $7,740. Group insurance, $27,780. And that's it.
780 what?
You want to offer,
I got it.
read changes, please?
You want me to reread it?
Would you please?
An ordinance to amend the 2017 general fund manpower structure and operating expenditure budget, interim employee training department, and to authorize an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
With those changes, Councilman Black has second.
A second.
Any discussion from the table?
Tell Mr. Snell, somebody.
Audience, machine is open. It passes 9-0.
Thank you.
6P, an ordinance to amend the 2017 general fund operating expenditure budget, legal services department, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I offer. Is there a second? Is there a second? Is it second by Councilman Juno? Any question from the table?
No,
It's appropriate.
it's not there. Where's it come from?
Imagine what you want.
The way it's written, unreserved, undesignated.
All right.
The way it's written doesn't say it, but it's intended.
It doesn't say it. If it goes, if
It's
the expense
intended?
goes up, that's where it comes from.
Okay.
I'd like to make an amendment to that amount to make it 50,000.
Mr. Russo made an amendment to offer 50,000, second by Councilmember Lapine. On the amendment, are there any discussions from the table? Councilman Black, you have
Yeah,
discussion?
is it possible to make an amendment to specify specifically in the ordinance, as per the charter, exactly where the funds will be utilized, and not just general legal services? I think this funding has a specific purpose. If we could just make a notation within either a whereas or one of the sections, I'd prefer it in the section.
Is that a legal question?
Well, as far as, like I told you before, the way the budget is set up, the budget is set up for that function, which is operating services. We put it in a line item that has that specifically, but the way the budget is set up, the budget control, if you read the 2017 budget, this is not a line item budget. It's based on that section.
Okay, so as it was pointed out to us by legal earlier, Section 5.03 of the charter, I'm sorry, Section 5.02 legal services of the charter states Section D, no special counsel shall be employed by either the parish president or the parish council until a budget appropriation has been made for that purpose. Therefore, I want to add an additional line in this ordinance to adhere to the charter and specify the specific budget appropriation for this $50,000. I mean, these are the rules that were given to us by legal.
If they go over, the way the budget is set up and in the computer system, if they go over that amount,
Okay.
there's nothing in our system that's going to stop it from going over that amount.
Yeah, I understand that, but for us to tell our constituency what we're spending money on, and, we were pretty much told by legal that this is mandatory, and I don't want to get into why this was discussed, but it's about some current or potential litigation.
Right.
So I just want to protect the council and protect the administration and add a line within, I would say, if Mr. Russo amends it to 50,000, it should say somewhere 2017 general fund operating expenditure budget legal services is amended by appropriating $50,000 specifically for the purpose of, and then we could put in whatever Mr. Barbe wants to put in.
It'll be reading Darrell L. Morrell versus Pikeman's Parish Government.
That would be correct.
Okay.
And thank you, Councilman Black. That's fine. That works for me, because if, as I explained to you all earlier, if I need more, I'll have to come back, but that's fine.
So my amendment will read on lines 8, starting the 2017 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Legal Service Department, is hereby amended by appropriating $50,000 from the unreserved, undesignated fund balance to the case of Darrell L. Morrell versus PPG.
It's been offered by Councilman Roussel, second by Councilman Black. Okay, Mr. Lapine. All right. Oh, okay. Any questions from the table? Audience on the amendment. Machines are open. The amendment passed. Now we're going to vote on the ordinance as amended.
An ordinance to amend the 2017 general fund operating expenditure budget, legal services department, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Roussel's offer, second by Councilman Lapine. Any questions from the table?
Second.
Councilman Black.
This is Q?
No, we're voting on what we.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, P, all right.
Councilman Black,
I'm good.
you good? Anybody else need to clear up something?
Just need to vote.
Anybody else need to clear something? Machine is open. It passes 9-0. Next item, please.
6Q, an ordinance to amend the 2017 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Legal Services Department, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Hold on, wait.
I offer. Is there a second?
We're going to put the same amendment in?
I'm a second for discussion.
All right. Second for discussion, Councilman Gino. Mr. Roussel?
Yeah, I understand this is the legal support for the Ed Terrio case. So the language will be the same on line 9.
Mr. Russo, you want to have Mr. Juno remove that second for discussion and do the amendment?
And I'll
move
Offer
my
with
second.
amendment?
I was going to amend it, but if he wants to offer it with the change, that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's do it with the
Okay.
change.
Okay. So the wording on 9 under your change will be to read appropriating $50,000 as follows from the unreserved, undesignated fund balance to the Ed Terrio case, the defense of Ed Terrio case. Huh?
Okay, it's been amended, as amended, second by Mr. Juno.
No, it's offered with that change.
Yeah, I'm saying, but he's
Okay.
second. It's
Got it.
offered with the change.
Got it, got it,
Mr. Juno second. Any questions from the table? Audience, the machine is open. Seven, one no, one abstention. Okay. Next, please.
An ordinance authorizing emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Offer. Second by Ms. Williams. Questions from the table? Ms. Williams?
Just want to verify this is a funded position? Yes? Okay.
Any other questions from the table? The machine is open. It passes 9-0. Next, please.
6U, a resolution authorizing the parish president, Amos J. Cormier III, or his designee, to begin the application process with Keep Louisiana Beautiful and to get Plaquemines Parish registered as an affiliate program partner and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilman Burt.
I'll offer as read.
Councilman Burt offers read. Second by Ms. Williams. Any discussion from the table? Audience? Machine is open. It passes 9-0.
6V, a resolution to rescind, annul, and set aside Resolution Number 16-204, which authorized the parish president to initiate such litigation as necessary to seek reimbursement of parish monies improperly expended and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilman Burt.
Offer as read.
Is there a second?
My second.
Second by Councilman Black. Any discussion from the table?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. I would just like the attorneys or someone to just give us an update or a briefing on the language in this legislation.
Legal, do I have any explanation or interpretation?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, we thought you said B. but we're
No,
looking at
B.
Now we understand, yes, sir. Well,
Mr. Gary gave us an explanation earlier, but I just want for the purpose of the audience to get some information regarding this legislation before we vote on it.
Waiting on the explanation. Of resolution.
Mr. Gary,
If you'll recall, first of all, under the charter, the parish president could have initiated those lawsuits unilaterally. The council could have initiated them unilaterally. The president at the time requested that the council express its support through a resolution. And this resolution would essentially repeal that prior resolution. Now, it doesn't do anything to the president's authority under the charter to continue the lawsuits unilaterally. So it doesn't do away with the lawsuit. It just, in effect, expresses that the council no longer agrees with the parish president, but that doesn't affect the parish president's authority on the matter.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Question from the table? Audience? Machine is open. Seven two. Next, please.
A resolution to rescind, annul, and set aside Resolution Number 17-136, assigning office space in Building 102 to the Internal Audit Department, assigning office space to the Internal Audit Department in Building 203, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer with changes. Basically, all I'm doing is taking out on line 20, rooms 130 and 131, and just keep it generic.
I'll second.
Has been offered by Councilman Black, second by Councilman Roussel.
Basically, the audit committee, instead of having the internal auditor move to building 102, the audit committee voted to move them to building 203, the new council building, annex in the government complex. So just assigning office space to them there.
Question from the table? Audience? Machine is open. Passes 9-0. Next, please.
X, an ordinance appropriating $50,000 to fund the study of infestation of the roseau cane in the marshes of coastal Louisiana and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilman Burt.
I'll offer.
Is there a second? Second by Councilman H. Cone. Question from the table?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Councilman Burt.
The only thing that's not identified is the funding source. I'm sorry?
It's going to come from the unreserved undesignated.
Offer as read.
Second by H. Cone. Any other questions from the table?
I'd like to know how this came about.
Councilman Roussel.
Actually, I spoke to Mr. Vince about this some time ago, and I think some of the coastal parishes were asked by CPRA or the state to help fund this cane study, and I offered my assistance, and that's where we're at today.
Is this a commitment that's already been made with the state?
The CPRA is contributing funds too.
Okay.
I'm the Coastal Director for Plaquemines Parish, 14325 Highway 23, Belchase. The Roseau cane, we had several meetings with CPRA, and it's a scale that's actually growing on the cane, and it's penetrating the skin of the cane, and it's actually killing acres, many, many acres of roseau in Southwest Pass, South Pass, Paso Lutra. And CPRA was asking for each coastal parish to contribute $50,000 for the study. The study's going to run about $480,000 to try to find a way to kill the scale without having to burn, which they all feel is going to create a problem burning the cane. So we sitting trying to figure, trying to fund the project or the study of the project.
So do you know how much the other parishes are putting up per parish?
According to Ms. Bradbury, everyone's being asked to put up $50,000. Now, the CPRA is putting up 100, and I think Wildlife and Fisheries is putting up 100, and then the other coastal parishes is asking 50,000.
Any other questions from the table? Audience, seat is open. Passes 9-0.
Hey, just one quick question. Vince, do you know if we're the first parish to do this so far? It kind of would be nice if we took the lead, and obviously it passed, but kind of a good little feather in our hat that we've taken the lead on this.
I think we are, but again, if the rest of the parishes don't come up with the 50,000, we're not either. I'm not gonna get out there and say, oh, we're gonna pay 50,000 and nobody else. We sit here on 50 grand and nobody else puts up a share. Now they said they would, but again, I've been hearing some complaints about that the state should pay for it.
Right.
So what I'm looking at is we're not going to cough up any money unless they do. But I need to have the funds available.
Do it.
Should everyone put up their share?
Next, please.
Maybe Jason can give us some good press release over there.
We didn't vote on it yet.
Yeah, we did. We didn't vote? We did, 9-0.
Oh, my bad, I'm sorry.
9-0.
6C, an ordinance authorizing an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions. That's what I was talking about. Why? I already read it. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan, improvements Scarsdale and Belle Chase Ferry Landing project, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I offer. Everybody second? Do I hear a second? I mean, one. Everybody one. Going once. Going twice. Who's second? Mr. Gino. Mr. Gino has second. Any questions from the table? Audience, machine is open.
Could we get him?
At the ferry landing where you put the dolphins, right? Seven, one abstention. One abstention. Next, please.
An ordinance authorizing an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Offer.
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Drake for discussion.
Is this a funded position?
This is funded vacant position.
Okay, can I, Mr. Chairman?
What?
I understand that this position is funded and vacant. I got it. It's easy to just vote on it and pass it and fill a custodian. What's the total price of it, finance? I can pull it up. Z. Okay. I would rather see that money transferred to prom or to heavy equipment to be able to fund a more critical need position as opposed to, filling a custodian. I mean, not saying that custodians don't do a great job, they do, but, some of us need to clean our own offices right now. We're in a budget crisis. So I'd rather see that funding go to, places like prom or flood control or heavy equipment. I mean, I'd like to get the administration's take on that.
In a few weeks, you're going to be moving into a new building, and we're going to need some extra personnel to help us in those areas. So we really need this custodian. And then we're kind of short-handed anyway.
Okay. I'll offer to clean my own office, and I'm sure my assistant will too. So, I guess my point is, Reverend, my point is, Reverend.
If you're going to clean
I will. I'll clean my own office. But Reverend, this is my point. I mean, we're talking about prom and heavy equipment. We need that. I mean, we need you guys just to say, look, we'd rather take that money and put it, for a grass cut. I mean,
Well, do you want to make an amendment? Okay. Mr. Russell?
Let me ask this. It's true that we're going to move into a new building, but the building that we're moving out of, is it going to be occupied or is it going to be vacant? Because the same people that are working in that building now can easily be working in the new building, and if that building's vacant, then we can lock the doors.
No comment.
And is that the intention of what we're going to do? And it's administration, are you moving or not? That's what we need to know.
Questions from the table? Comments? Machine is open.
That was for discussion only.
Wait,
All right.
that was only for discussion.
All right. I offer for a vote. Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? It dies for lack of a second. Next item, please.
An ordinance to amend the 2017 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Recreation Facilities and Services Department, and Swimming Pools Day Event Department, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Offer. Is there a second?
What is this?
Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Ms. Sullivan. Questions from the table? Audience.
I guess the question is, the swimming pool doesn't need this 10,000 anymore?
The Director of Recreation, the one requested that, right?
Yeah, they did, and they had, I think it was 10 lifeguards,
And 2 have been filled.
and only 2 have been
We
filled,
won't have 10, we'll have like
so they won't
8.
need the money.
and have 4. You have all 5, 6, 7. You have 8 that has been certified. But due to civil service, you only had 2 that have been finished. So the lack of them being finished to be employed by the parish was the hold up with civil service. Now they say they have them all online. They're just waiting them all to come in to be putting them all back to work. And you do have money left because the first part of the summer, a lot of the times we took the money out of recreation to pay for the lifeguards out of that fund. So the money we had appropriated for the lifeguards in the parish budget, in the budget and the recreation, I mean, they have a little surplus in there. And according to Mr. Halpern, he told me he needed that additional money to do some operation in recreation. So it's up to this group to decide if they want to give him that or leave it as is. So now the question is on the table. Any other questions, comments?
I guess what we really do is find out what's left in the swimming pool budget and how much is needed and how much, I mean, is there anything left there that needs to be there?
They're, I mean, this is based through 8/3. I mean, it depends on if they had any other invoices that came in after this. But I'm showing around $5,000 in the operating was spent out of there already. Out of $29,000 was the total budget. Now, where this money's coming from is from personal services, from actual salaries and benefits and stuff. I mean, we only hired, I think Mr. Johnson said 2. So, and you're already through this point now, and I think it was set up for like 4 months, I think. The positions, the part-time positions set up for 4 months. So you're definitely going to have money left over in personal services, and that's where he's trying to get it from.
Any other comments?
Question?
Hearing none, the machine is open. Passes 8-0. Next item, please.
An ordinance to amend the 2017 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Flood Control Department, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Offer. Second by Ms. Williams. Transferring money, right?
Correct. That's it. We just moved it to capital outlay. It's an operating. They didn't have enough money in capital outlay to purchase what they're looking for.
Questions from the table? Audience, the machine is open. Passes 8-0. Next item, please.
An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a donation for the Homeland Security / Emergency Preparedness Department and to amend the General Fund 2017 operating revenue and expenditure budgets, Homeland Security, Emergency Preparedness Department, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Offer. Is there a second? Second. Second by Councilman Roussel. Question from the table. Audience, machine is open. Next, please.
An ordinance to amend the 2017 Manpower Structure Permits Department and to authorize an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Offer. Is there a second? Second, Council Member Gino. Question from the table?
Someone second?
Gino. Councilman Gino. Any questions from the table?
Yes.
Yes.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Could we possibly convert or change this position to a combination building inspector? Because right now, Mr. Metcalf, I think the entire parish is operating with one inspector. From what I'm understanding from our research into speaking to all of the different folks that's related to permitting,
Councilor Savant, I'm sorry, I
is that
didn't.
if we hire just a regular building inspector, we're not doing any justice to the department. I think a combination of building inspector would
Well, if I could offer an explanation on that. The individual that vacated, the confusion came in at the last meeting because the individual that recently vacated the position that came open had worked his way up to the position of combination inspector. Combination inspector, as far as qualifications for inspectors, is the most advanced inspector we have. He is a fully certified, on both sides of the equation, commercial and residential inspector under state law. A building inspector is an individual that has 4 certifications on the residential side. We personally feel like, and I discussed this with civil service, and they agreed, because of the salary and the level of salary versus what the combination inspector brings, we feel that it would be a better hire and would add more to what we are able to do as far as inspections, and a quicker hire if we went with the entry-level building inspector and he could hit the road immediately and do residential inspections, which is probably 70-75% of all inspections that we do. He could hit the ground immediately, begin doing residential building inspections, renovations, new construction, et cetera, and then work his way up with the other 4 inspections, or the other 4 certifications. And then at that point, if he is able to do that, I could come back to the council and ask for the remainder of the funding for that combination inspector. We just don't think that our ability to hire, we have never had that position hired straight out, just at that job description or that job title. We have had to let a person work his way up to that and be promoted. We just feel it would be almost impossible. And that coupled with the fact, just to give an example if I could, our current combination inspector who just left, the position starts at, the combination inspector, the more advanced position, starts at $39,983. The person that left took a position making $71,000. So if you see the logic here, we would rather hire a qualified residential inspector and increase our odds of getting a good person that could immediately help with some of the workload and let that individual work his way up like the last person did and be promoted to that position.
Okay, it sort of makes sense to me.
Solid.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else? Audience, machine is open. Eight zero passes. Next item, please.
Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Pelecan's Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I offer. Is there a second?
Just EE?
Seconded by Councilman Burke. Any discussion from the table?
Yeah.
Hearing none, the machine.
I have a question.
All right, go ahead.
Is this posted, this is an internal posting or external posting? Do we know? I guess it's external.
Posted yet.
Okay. Well, I'm saying, I know it's not posted yet, but is it going to be external or internal only? I guess civil service would do both, right? Okay.
Hoping that they do internal first, right?
Yeah, I'm assuming by
Hope
those
to
rules.
do that.
All right.
Any more comments from the table? Audience, machine is open.
Yeah.
Sullivan, you not voting?
No, I was just entertaining the sidebar over here.
Okay, she's not voting, she said. It passes 7-0.
An ordinance to amend the 2017 five-year capital improvements plan, various projects, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Offer. Is there a
Mr.
second?
John, you can withdraw this one. Because
Withdraw.
This one didn't have any information in it. This was based on the 2017 mid-year budget. We didn't have any capital
Okay.
improvement.
You have any more need to be withdrawn?
You can defer HH.
HH deferred?
Yes.
We're going to defer HH and withdraw GG. But aye.
Aye, we already did that one.
Aye. What about JJ? JJ deferred.
What about N?
Okay.
We passed over.
We addressed II already.
Okay. Let's go back, revert back to 6N, please.
6N.
Yes.
An ordinance to amend the 2017 general fund manpower structure and operating expenditure budget, Director of Operations, Director of Administration, and Director of Public Service Departments, and to authorize an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I offer. It was already offered. Okay. And it's coming from the,
That was coming from the VP, but we didn't approve
well,
that.
we changed it to
It's
the
gonna be deferred.
rollover money.
Go to,
Okay.
Is that II?
we getting there.
It's not deferred. We hadn't read it.
It was blank, so.
We passed over it because we were discussing the BP, my damn it, come back.
Right, you got blanks on line 22. I
For the
guess-
funding source?
Right, the funding.
Put it
source.
for the rollover money.
Okay.
Yeah.
We need to put that on line 22, line 23. 33, I'm sorry. And that should be it.
Okay. All right. Discussion from the table, Ms. Williams. Wait, we got a second first. Who's second? Anybody second? Going once. Second? First? Anybody second? Second? Second. It dies for lack of second. Now, can't discuss it. Dies for lack of second. All right, next item, please.
7B, update and presentation by District 7 Councilmember Trufant Salvant.
Ms. Sullivan? District 7?
Oh, no, defer.
I'm sorry?
Defer.
Third. Yeah. I'm sorry. Good. Next one, please.
7C, update by administration on water compliance projects and loan application. Councilmember Roussel.
The battery's gone off. I spoke to Mr. Chris Bordelon. He received a revised copy of the engineering report from Carlton Associate about 10 days ago. He's looking at it. He says he's going to do his best to expedite it. Hopefully he'll call me back next week and say something, but he did receive the revised copy, and it's in his possession, and he is working on it.
Who's that?
Can,
Leave it on the agenda?
I would, is there any way that we can maybe get him to come to the next meeting to speak on the status of this or make any other recommendations in reference to this water project that needs to be completed?
Whatever your desire is, let me know, and I'll see. Y'all make the rules.
Councilwoman Williams, he works for the USDA, so please feel free to invite him on our behalf.
Next item, please.
7D, District 1 update. Councilmember Bartholomew.
Yes, couple of comments. The courthouse is moving right along. Due to the rain, kind of pushes back about a week or 2 weeks before pouring the slab, not the slab, but the foundation, which is the last phase of it, before we pour the level, ground level slab. Just about all the stuff is in place, and hopefully next week or so they'll be pouring that. That's about 2,000 yards of concrete they're going to pour, and they're going to have to start early that morning. The other item in the back is the tower. The tower has an issue with the elevator. It's not fitting properly, so because the doors can't open once they put it in place. It was designed wrong. So now they have to be redesigned. And as far as I'm concerned, is that Linfield Hunter designed it. So that means they have to be liable for taking care of that problem by redesigning and paying for the cost of that particular project. Just about everything on the tower itself is there. On the tower itself is there. The building to hold the generator and all that, that's in place. It's just that the building doors won't open with the way it's set up now. They have to redo that elevator. The other question is the levees on the northern end. The grass needs to be cut. I know it's not our, from understanding is that we haven't accepted those, so it's not the parents' responsibility at this time. Maybe the directors of the levees could call those people and ask them to cut the grass, because what is happening, all the bad weeds is taking over and smothering the regular grass that is needed for that levee. So we need to somebody needs to make a call from the levee section, levee department about the firm the contractor cutting the grass. We still have an issue with the football field. It hasn't came to tuition yet. Still under contract. It's been like 2 years or so, and we're still dealing with that. We're still dealing with a lost. It's just the contractor hadn't fulfilled his obligation. So we need to kind of put a little more pressure on him so we can get that stuff done. The pool was good this year. It was open. Just a matter of fact, what kept it down some was the service was the ability to hire the personnel for the parish through the civil service was a problem. This council appropriated the funds back in April. On the legislation was done in April. And last week we had the 2 lifeguard approved by civil service. But anyway, the kids did use it because we picked up the portion of the tab during the from recreational budget. That's all I have at this time. Put it on the agenda for the next meeting, please. Next item.
Deferred.
Next
item, please.
Discussion on sandbag theft, Councilmember Lapine.
It's come to our attention that there was a theft of sandbags on the East Bank. So I'd like to maybe direct my question to Director Wallace. How many sandbags should we have, and how many were allegedly stolen? Can you give us an update on that?
Mr. Lapine, I can answer some of that. We're supposed to have 25,000 per the present hurricane plan. I believe they had 18 or 19,000 over there, and some of them had come up missing. About half of what was recovered was found back behind the golf course in, I believe it was in some woods, and there was actually some that were buried, which is all very weird. But most of these sandbags were relocated.
Okay. So
and once the deficiencies now being made up as we speak, as my understanding, the last 3 weekends they've been making sandbags.
Okay. So approximately how many were taken?
I believe Stanley knows the exact number.
No, I'm trying to get an answer here.
They weren't stolen; they were misplaced.
Okay. Let's see how many
There were 2. Director Wallace brought me over there. There were sandbags located, as Parish Attorney Shane Landry stated, behind, going down Braithwaite Park and back behind where the golf course was, which, so the issue is now moot. And then there were some other sandbags in another location, which wasn't the official location, but the point is moot. We did recover the sandbags and
Okay. As per contract with the levy contractor, we're supposed to have 25,000 sandbags on hand. Did we have 25,000 sandbags on hand?
we have them on hand now.
Okay. I'm going to ask the question again. Did we have it at the time before the theft occurred?
The sandbags were in a location that we were not aware of.
Okay.
They had been moved.
Mr. Cormier, you can spin it any way. Did we have 25,000 sandbags before the theft occurred?
Yes, we did, but not in a location that
Okay. All right.
we knew about.
All right. So as of, I guess the theft was reported July 7th. Okay. At the February 2017, we had 76 pallets by the prom on East Bank, and the Braithwaite behind the golf course, we had 85 pallets. There's 50 sandbags per pallet. That doesn't equate to 25,000. That's in February. June of this year, we had 86 pallets, which are 4,000 bags. That was at the Braithwaite Golf Course. And at the Braithwaite Prom, we had 67 pallets, which equated to 3,600 bags. So roughly about 7,500 bags. So we did have 25, or we didn't have 25,000?
I stand corrected. We did make up some. We did make some.
Okay. So we're in deficiency what the levy contractor tells us what we have to be in.
We're up to date now.
We're up to date now.
Yeah.
We got an accurate count. After all the bags that were stolen, now we made new bags, and now we're up to 25,000 bags. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Could we get an inventory of that and see that?
I had the facts on it. You want the bags, so much I had, okay? But,
I mean, a picture might help.
I don't have them here.
I know we don't have it, but it would help.
I'll send you one tomorrow.
Okay.
Or if you're going up there, if you're going to one down there, sir, you can go up there right back there and look at them right in the...
Excuse me, mister?
Right in the hangar, old hangar.
You can go to the old hangar.
Okay.
But instead of stopping in Scarsdale, just go up towards Braithwaite Park before you
just
hit
may do
Braithwaite
that.
Park.
But we have, as per the contract with the levy contract, we have 25,000 bags.
The contract is covered.
The what?
The contract, we have what it takes for the contract.
It's a moot point now. We have it covered
Why is it a moot point?
because it's covered.
What'd you say?
It's covered.
We have 25,000 now.
And you could stop,
Okay.
if you pass up the Scarsdale Ferry,
Okay.
go before you get to where the Braithwaite Golf Course used to be, take a right, there's buildings back there, you can see the sandbags.
But we have it now, but we didn't have it when Tropical Storm Cindy hit. Okay. I'll move to my, unless anyone else has any more questions.
G,
Next. Move to the next one.
discussion on extending the Tropical Storm Cindy state of emergency. Councilmember Lapine.
Can I get an explanation why we're still of a state of emergency?
Because the conditions have not changed, and we're in the heart of hurricane season.
Conditions of the levy?
Correct.
Okay. And that's the reason why, when this expires, will we renew it and get into another 30 days?
Until we can have the time, there's been a tremendous amount of rain, and also due to manpower shortages, until we can get those, particularly the levee sloughing areas and levee washout areas remedied. Correct.
Okay. Well, in fact, read H right now, because I'm going to lead into that, Ms. Barber.
Discussion regarding the contract signed under the state of emergency.
Okay, here we go. Now, do we have any contracts to do the levy?
Yes. We have duties and obligations, as I stated earlier. If you go back to the same CFR, and this is where there's going to be, we have just a difference of opinion, Councilman Lapine.
You absolutely.
You brought up Tropical Storm Cindy. Tropical Storm Cindy was we had over 72 hours where we were on preparedness, had pump stations running. This council today, and I think you were one of the ones who voted against it, you allow us no room for redundancy, no room for human frailty, human error. It's a violation of OSHA to work people over 72 hours straight, and we had people just staying and trying to get sleep when they could at some of these pump stations. It's something where I'm representing to the people of this parish that because we have a manpower shortage like no other, we're not, I don't have the resources to be as prepared as I would feel to where I could represent to the people that we're prepared for a hurricane event.
Okay, let me make this very simple. How many contracts do we have right now under state emergency? Two. And have we, okay, let me.
As I stated, and this is the same question you asked me at mid-year budget review.
And I
we
didn't
have
go
an
into it because I wanted to come here.
We have, yeah, and but we talked about it there, but I'll answer the question again. One is we have an issue in the Myrtle Grove area, Myrtle Grove Estates, where we have a 3-foot levee. But yet under that levee, they have numerous holes, I think about 20 culverts. Now, I'm trying to get ahead of problems and be proactive instead of reactive. And for example, and I admitted this in the status report, but the parish government, your ordinance was recently sued, the Borough Pit ordinance was sued and deemed unconstitutional. Now, pardon me for not mentioning that during the status report, but we were threatened also with litigation for blocking the culverts to protect Highway 23 in the Myrtle Grove area. So, trying to get ahead of the curves, just like with the Myrtle Grove levees. That I have to remind you, Councilman Payne, because you voted to accept the donation of these Myrtle Grove levees. This was all private levees. Prior to 2012 or 13? That we never had that duty and responsibility to maintain those levees there, because that was all private. That was citrus lands. So that's why I come and ask you for the resources to maintain these things. This is something that you voted to accept. And so when you accept these new levees, these new levee projects, we heard the discussion earlier, it's going to cost future money to maintain. It's going to be recurring expenditures, and these recurring expenditures for all these levees, it's going to cost money. So this council needs to start looking for recurring revenues to pay for these recurring maintenance and operation of these levee systems.
Okay, and I understand, and I hear you, and I understand the position you're in. Are these two contracts working on that Myrtle Grove levee?
One's on Myrtle Grove, looking into the permitting situation, because I want to be prepared. I'm trying to get prepared to where if we do have another hurricane event, I feel comfortable blocking up those culverts again. And then the other one, we have a duty. Both of them goes to the levees. One is the Myrtle Grove back levee that had the washouts, and the other one is we have a duty on the Batcher side to keep that area clean. And that's something that prior to, and this goes way back, before you and I were here, these are agreements that we signed with the Corps to keep the Mississippi River levee side free of debris. Because in an event of a storm, hurricane or whatnot, that debris can cause breakage in the concrete, cause breakage in the levee. And so that's another duty that we assumed back in one as far back as the 60s, another time under the Petrovich administration. So these are all legal duties that the parish has assumed that now we have to try to comply with.
Again, I understand the complexity of levees. I understand what our duties and what we are in charge of. Can you name the two contractors?
I didn't hear them.
Can you name the two contractors?
Yeah, I got Hess on one and I got Lane Greco on the other one.
Okay. We have a contract with these two guys, two companies?
Emergency contract, yeah.
Okay. Will we be reimbursed from the federal government because we're in a state of emergency?
Councilman Lapine, I answered that question at the last mid-year budget review.
You asked me the question?
I answered that question. You asked the same question, and for a second time, I stated the
I know the threshold.
And if you know the threshold, then why'd you ask the question again?
Then why are we in a state of emergency? Okay? That's what I'm
because
trying
the
to...
levees are not prepared, and because we're not prepared and we're in hurricane season.
But you said that one of them's not working on the levee. One of
No.
the contractors. You just said it.
The Myrtle Grove Estates has to deal with, I want to have a policy of blocking those culverts so that those levees don't have holes underneath them and we can protect Highway 23. Now, the question came up and we were threatened with a lawsuit, just like where our Borough Pit ordinance now has been filed a lawsuit against, saying it was unconstitutional, whether or not we can legitimately block those culverts because, to protect Highway 23. My question, I have numerous questions of how this happened, because I don't know of many, I can't think of any other place where you have a levee and then you have culverts that allow the water to run underneath it. It defeats the purpose of having a levee.
All right, do we have a funding source identify where we're going to pay for this?
This is an emergency. Under Title 29, and I have to say, Councilman Lapine, if you're going to keep dragging this out, then we're talking about chump change here. You were on the council when there was a $7.5 million appropriation done for mitigation banks credits out in New Orleans East, where now the courts decided that it looks like we just are going to lose all that money. So I question the zealousness of your questioning now and timing of all this. I guarantee you this isn't any $7.5 million project. So that's the only thing. The timing of your questioning, I answered these questions, similar questions at mid-year budget review. So the timing of your questions, that's what I question.
Okay.
I have one.
Anyone else want to?
Yeah, I just,
Councilman Burt.
I'll be brief. So we have two contracts. You said, who was the first one? Lane Greco, and what was the second one? Yes. And we have signed contracts, and are they working?
No, we do not have. There were. That's not. I know that I have L&B Services working on Myrtle Grove area.
Who's
And
L&B?
that's L&B Services. It's a Louisiana company.
Who is that? What's
It's a juridical person.
Who owns it? Who owns the corporation?
I don't know. I have an idea who, but I don't know. I'd have to go check the Secretary of State. That's public record. Now, that's one. And then the possibility of using Hess, I haven't.
I'm just asking because I'd like to see a copy of the contracts. That's all I'm asking. I've heard conflicting information. Mr. Wallace said Hess and Greco, you sell an LMB. I have no idea that is. I yield.
Any other questions from the table?
Yeah,
Mr.
just to
Russo?
follow up, since we're talking about chump change, how much is it? How much are these contracts individually, and do they have a cap on them?
Standard hourly rates.
Can we get a copy?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I've asked your office a couple of times and I haven't gotten anything.
So do they have a cap on them?
I talked to his personal assistant.
Okay, that's news to me. When did that?
I'd just like a copy.
When did you do that, Councilman Burt?
That was probably last week or Monday or whatever.
Okay.
I like to make. Please.
No.
So let me ask you this then. So
You don't want to be answered. Please.
I was just trying to follow up. So there's no cap on them, they're just hourly contracts?
There's no open-ended amount.
Well, what is the cap then?
We're regularly monitoring these things, and we're not expecting any huge, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. We're not expecting, these aren't going to be like some of the prior record high expenditures.
Do they
And I prefer to do this, Councilman Russo. Like I said, we're trying to do this. This administration's priority is try to do everything in-house. Unfortunately, we have lacked the manpower to do some of these things in-house.
Right,
That's
so-
why we came to you today requesting.
We
some of these
understand that,
things.
and that's why you say you went out and got contracts. So we're in favor of, some of us are in favor of outside contracts, but we're trying to find out how long and what the cap is or how much they're costing us. And when you say chump change, I'm thinking, small amounts. But do
We
they
have
exceed-
an estimated amount on.
Well, you don't have a cap in it?
There's no cap in it, but there was an estimated amount that I was informed.
Well, how much is the estimated amount?
I believe the levy part was like 20,000.
How much?
20.
20,000?
I believe that's right.
And what about the Batcher?
The batch, I think it was less than 10, but I'm not certain.
Okay. Maybe we ought to look at these contractors and see if we can hire them to do some servitudes.
Well, Mr.
Since we're
Roussel,
talking about chump change and, these low figures.
It's like, I think one,
You think you could expand some of these to do some of the ditches?
that,
I mean, you know, let's,
Actually, I had an introduction today to supplement those departments with right-of-way ditch cleaning, so, I would support that, absolutely.
on the Hess contract, I believe it's 70, it's $70 an hour for a truck and an operator, I believe.
no, but I mean, if you can embellish these contracts a little bit to cut some grass, that we can't cut ourselves, we're willing to work with you, but not if we got to pull teeth to get the answers.
Thank you. If you don't mind, I definitely will call you later in the week.
Next item, please.
Update on DOTD right-of-way grass cutting, Councilmember Burt.
Deferred.
K, discussion regarding overtime pay, Councilmember Lapine.
Deferred.
L, discussion regarding relocation of Water Department Billing Office, Councilmember Black.
Yeah, we had this discussion yesterday, myself, and Mr. Juneau, and the president. Mr. Giles, we had some discussion months ago. In Building 203, there's another wing. A few council members walked around and identified a location that would be perfect to relocate the water billing department to receive the collections and billing and whatnot. We'd like to get you to take a walk over one day and concur with that and give us your opinion. And that building's looking to be finished in September. So if you do concur with that, I'll do a resolution to move that department. That way they can vacate that building that we currently have on, Main Street? Yeah, and then you guys can utilize the expansion of the water plant or whatever you need for it. Is that fine? All right, thanks. All right, thanks.
I'll offer.
I do have one thing. I think Mr. Burt's assistant had something about a road closure. No. Oh, I thought you texted something. Oh, sorry. Yeah, there's a road. What is it? A road closure on Point Lahash Ferry.
Yeah, it might be down by now, though, so. I move that we accept the minutes in Globo. Is there a second?
Okay, before you leave, I want to make sure we understand. 6II, all items on there has not passed. So all the projects that whatever you had on here has been defeated. So there's nothing passed in the BP money for all the position, all the money transfers or anything. None of that could take place. The audience is dead.
Right. I move to adjourn.